in-person audience, please take your seats. All right, this is John Chen here at the Star Marketing Summit. This is our last section, the afternoon section here on March 20th. We have some amazing more programming coming up. We had a great lunch conversation with those who are on virtual, but now here's what we got going on for the afternoon. There we go. Okay, outstanding. Coming up next, he's got over 30 years of training and facilitation experience. He helps new managers transform from individual contributors to great people managers. He's an open water scuba diver instructor and a father to twin daughters. He's going to show us something about empathy. Let's welcome Eric Girard.
Hello. Hello. I get the after lunch crowd. I am so happy. I'm going to bring it up to 11 to keep you all awake. How's that sound? So, my name is Eric Girard. I'm the CEO of Girard Training Solutions. I am thrilled to be with you all, so thank you very much for being here. Thanks for coming back after lunch. And I'd love to see if I could do a quick poll. By a show of hands, how many of you have worked for a manager who really got you, who really understood you? Yeah, I see some hands. I hear some laughs. Okay. How about online? Any hands online?
I'm seeing sort of.
Sort of? Okay, excellent. Well, we're going to come back to that in just a moment. But first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Eric Girard, CEO of Girard Training Solutions. I've been in learning and development for over 30 years, 20 of which I spent in Silicon Valley, working for companies you'd know, like Apple, Symantec, Applied Materials, and Nutanix. And I spent most of my career in management development, helping new managers transition from being great individual contributors, great employees, to being great people managers. And the reason why I have such a passion about this is because I have been on the receiving end of managers who didn't do such a good job, who got promoted without being trained, and they just winged it, and it went terribly. And then, in a stroke of irony, I got promoted. I made all the same mistakes. I didn't set goals, I didn't delegate, I gave feedback, but it was nitpicky, cringy feedback, like really scary, terrible. So when we moved up here from the Bay Area to the Seattle area during the pandemic, I decided that's not going to happen to me or anybody else again. And so that's why I do what I do. That's why Girard Training Solutions exists, and that's why we're here today. So I have a quote for you. This is from Maya Angelou, and she says that I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And so the thesis of my presentation today is all about how you, as a manager, make your team feel. Sound good? All right. So let's get right into it with an activity, okay? So virtual, I'm going to be asking you to work together in small groups. So just to prep you for that. And then if you're here in the room, I'm going to ask you to be working in very small groups. So you want to come to the table and join us because we're about to get ready for a good one right here. So, virtual, I'll have John put you into breakout rooms, small groups of 2 or 3. In person, just turn and talk to the person next to you. And each of you gets a chance to talk for 2 minutes about a time when someone really empathized with you, really understood how you were feeling. And the big question is, what did that feel like? So you've got 4 minutes total to have this conversation. So partner up. John, please drop them into breakout rooms. We'll take 4 minutes total to have those conversations. Any questions about what I'm asking you to do?
Any questions? Feel free to raise your hand. If you need any help in the breakout room, just ask for help and we will get you there.
Yep.
All right, ready for you. Count it down.
Enjoy.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and have a seat. If you could pass the mic around the table too, Eric, that would be fantastic.
Sure.
Thank you.
Grab the mic. Yeah.
They can hear us. Okay, I'm not a good person to answer this
Turn the mic on.
question.
The mic's not on.
Go ahead and turn it on. I'm unmuted on my side. Look for the power switch, and Adam will come by and check it for you. Go ahead and continue your conversation.
It was good. So I'm not a good one to ask this to, because when people do that and they pay all this attention to me and they repeat back and they like ask me more questions, I feel guilty, like, oh, it's okay. You don't have to spend all that time finding out about me. It's okay. So I would rather hear your stories.
But I'll give you an I'm with you on that, because that's exactly how I used to be too. So when I hear a lot of those, and there are people who are really good at, like, they're so genuinely curious, and they share so much with me, and I feel, do I now have to do it? Is it my turn? And it was.
Can I just pay you to be my coach then?
Yeah. So I feel, I'm with you. I felt that same thing for a long time before.
It's interesting. I kind of feel that way when someone really loving and caring and really, I'm like, wow, I'm not used to this. I'm a little freaked out. I love it, but I'm just like, wow, I don't know what to say, because I don't get that level from a lot of conversations. So.
Well, wait, and then in corporate America, you probably add suspicion to that. Like if it's the boss, all right, what's the boss? They must have taken some seminar recently. When's this gonna wear off? Or what change are they making that they're trying to butter me up for, or whatever? Do you actually have something for the assignment, which is a time when someone really empathized with you? You can continue with what we were saying too, Rose. But.
2 minutes remaining.
Okay, so I have the same response of like, I'm not used to this. I could be in front of an audience of any size officially, work. You can ask me anything, and I'm completely comfortable. But if it becomes personal, it's like, I don't have a lot of experience in being listened to, right? And so, like, I don't know, a friend of mine makes a joke like, you're asking me how I feel? How should I know, right? And it's just, it makes me realize, like, I maybe need to have more practice in this, have more experience in this. I don't know how that happens, but yeah.
But yet you're on the other side often, right, Rose? Or, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's easy to be present for somebody else. It's easy to listen. It's easy to really be curious because people are so interesting. But when have we ever been listened to? I mean, we all kind of probably grew up in the time when children were seen and not heard and all that kind of thing. So but I see kids growing up now that are probably your kids being listened to, learning how to say what they want, learning how to negotiate at a young age, which is going to give them a completely different future.
You guys both have twin daughters, by the way.
Oh my
Twin
gosh.
daughters.
Did you want to say anything? Are you in this or are you just
He wants
observing?
us to have the comment.
I want you to have the chat.
Okay. Who wants
30
to-
seconds remaining.
Does anybody have an actual story, like where you remember it and it made you feel?
Oh, okay. I have an uncle, and he's completely ignored me like forever. And one day I realized it's like when he comes to visit, he wants to hear my report. And so I put together a report for him. He listened to every word and he took notes. So all those years I felt like he was ignoring me. I was not communicating to him in the way that he wanted.
And here they come back from the breakout room. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, everybody. Okay, so let's go to the virtual audience first.
You'll take just a second for them to come back. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Eric, we have the virtual audience.
All right, beautiful. So let's go to virtual first. Can I have a volunteer to talk about what it felt like when somebody really got you, really empathized you, really understood how you were feeling?
We got Mel.
Yep, let's hear it, or chat in, either way.
The quick story I was telling is that I have just recently screwed up. I was on assignment at a temp position at the school district that I now work for as a substitute teacher. I was at the district office. I was a receptionist, and I was being myself. And I got a message afterwards from my boss, the head of the substitutes, saying, several people let me know that you were selling your services during your day, and I've been asked to make sure you don't come back. And it's so frustrating and to find out that I've had that kind of an impact. So the person that is my best friend that I'm visiting right now is like, Mel, it's okay. the ability to understand that being myself doesn't always fit, especially in an employee controlling environment, and it's okay that I didn't fit. And just it's really helped to have that other person be there and say, it's okay, it's okay.
Nice. Thank you, Mel. I appreciate that. Anybody else virtually want to share?
We got a few others. I got Susan here. Hi, Susan.
Hello, Susan.
Yeah, hi. What came to mind for me, I talked to Dr. Mel, is that it was at work, one of my jobs, and I was talking to the cleaning crew, a lady in the cleaning crew, and her English wasn't good. She only spoke Spanish. So I made some comment about the fact that it had she ever thought of going to take English classes or something like this, and I guess she got very offended by that. She never said anything to me, but she said something to HR, and then the woman that was my manager came up to me and told me what she said about me. So she was triggered by me. Then I was triggered by the fact that she was upset because I had no animosity intended when I said it to her, but the manager that relayed to me what the cleaning lady had said also was very compassionate towards me and said, I'm sure you didn't mean anything by it. If I was you, I might feel bad, but don't take. So she empathized with me. So I thought the empathy of my manager was very good. She validated my feelings.
Excellent. Great. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Let's turn now to in person. Go ahead and pass the mic around. Anybody have anything they want to share?
I mean, the consensus I kind of think our table came up with here was that we're not used to, even it's our professional job to be on the other side asking the questions. When we're given that empathy and that listening, it was kind of uncomfortable for all of us.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, the key point here that I'm trying to make is that empathy is absolutely a key skill for just having a relationship with folks. And it's absolutely critical in the world of work, especially today. And it cannot be separated from our day-to-day. So it's not that you can go to work and be non-empathetic and then come home and be empathetic. Empathy needs to span our experience. And that's my thesis for today. So with that, what are we going to talk about during this session? Two things. First off, you're going to learn how to define empathy, and then you're going to create a plan for becoming more empathetic. That sound good? Is that what you're here for? Yeah? Okay, good deal. Then let's start with a definition of empathy. This comes from Daniel Goleman's book, Emotional Intelligence. Fantastic book. It's seminal in the field. I love it. And Goleman's definition of empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another without judgment. And it sounds like some of you are used to being judged a lot. So we're going to learn how to listen without judgment. There are three pieces to this. The first is cognitive empathy. Cognitive empathy is where you're thinking about what the other person feels. So it doesn't go any further than your brain. It's like, oh, that person seems upset. That's a bummer. And so we don't go any deeper than that. And so often the response is some version of, wow, sucks to be you. So there's that. Going down a level deeper is emotional empathy. All right? This is where not only are we thinking about how the other person feels, but we are also actually feeling what they feel. So at this level, the hypothalamus and the hippocampus are working really, really quickly and allowing us to feel instantly what the other person is feeling. Okay? So this is a very, very much an active element in our brain. And this is where we channel our inner Bill Clinton and say and mean, I feel your pain. And I thought about imitating Bill Clinton for that one and set it aside. Decided, you want to hear it? I feel your pain. Don't get me started with the voices. Ask John. Then we've got empathetic concern. This is the trifecta. And so this is where not only are we thinking about what the other person's feeling and going through, not only can we feel what they feel, but we want to do something about it. We want to jump in and help. okay? And so at this level, this is a very active and compassionate element. This is where not only are we thinking about what the other person is feeling, but oxytocin is being released in the brain. So this goes right back to the presentation that was before mine. So oxytocin, that powerful chemical, starts to run through our brain, and we start to feel the same way that parents feel when they're taking care of their children. So as we mentioned, I have twin 15-year-old daughters. They weren't always 15. I remember when they were days old, they were premature, they were 3.5 pounds each. I could hold them like this, and their little heads were the size of baseballs, hold them like that, and I would just look at Elsie and say, I will do anything for you, absolutely anything. That's oxytocin talking. That's empathetic concern. And so when you get to that level of connection with another human being, that's where you're really in a place to do some good. Questions, comments at this point? All right. Then let's move on. I have a story that goes with this. You want to hear it?
Yes.
Based on the conversation that happened right before lunch, I would say that you're primed for a good story. So I started in Silicon Valley in 1999. And I had been at my job at the Silicon Valley company for about a year, so mid-2000, when my mom was diagnosed with metastatic lung cancer. Spread all through her body, happened very quickly. She went from strong and vibrant to down and in the hospital, and tubes all over the place. So of course, I would go to the hospital and visit, but then I would go back to work. And Brent, my boss, amazing human being for reasons you will learn in a moment, would shoo me back to the hospital. Go be with your mom, go be with your family. So then I would go to the hospital, but then I would go back to work. And so Brent sat me down, looked me in the eye, and said, listen, you need to be with your mom. You need to be with your family. Go do that. We'll take care of work. We got you. We'll take care of work. You go take care of what's important now. So I went back to the hospital, and I stayed there. And my sister and I were the people in the room when my mom passed. It was very emotional, very difficult. So Brent caught wind of that. He said, under no circumstances, come back to work. You stay with your family. You take care of things. We got you, okay? I promise your projects will not fall apart. You're going to be okay. And then he sends out a note to the team, and the team at this point is fairly large, just 20 or 30 of us on the team. Sends a note to everybody, CCing me, folks, Eric Gerard's mother just passed. Let's lean in and take care of his project so that nothing falls through the cracks. And by the way, I'd appreciate it if you said a little prayer for him. Now, Brent didn't say a lot. He didn't do a lot. But what he did say meant the whole world, meant absolutely the whole world. So that was in 2000. We're still friends. We're still close. He contributed to my book. He's been on my podcast. I've been to his house. I've stayed at his house. He's been my friend and mentor for years, just because of 3 short, discrete instances of empathy that he shared with me. So my wish for you is that you are able to have the same impact on somebody else. Sound good? Well, by now you're probably saying, well, yeah, Eric, that's nice, but I'm not naturally empathetic. A lot of people aren't. That's okay. A lot of people aren't. So we're going to learn in little tiny baby steps right now how to become a little bit more empathetic. So again, virtual, we're going to put you into breakout rooms. John will put you into small breakouts. I'd like you, John, to mix them up, please. And folks, I'd like you in the room, work with somebody different. So literally stand up. After lunch, all the blood you need to think with is down in your stomach. So get up and move. Maybe have this conversation standing and mix up with different people. And I'd like you to talk for at least 2 minutes about ideas you can come up with to be more empathetic. Little ideas. You don't have to boil the ocean. You don't have to have a brain transplant. Just what are some little things you can do to become more empathetic starting today? So you've got 5 minutes for this conversation.
Okay, your 5 minutes begins now. Again, you can sit at the table there. Oh, yes, you can hang out here.
You know, just like right now, the only thing I'm doing is having a conversation
How are we on time?
Just doing that, right, is huge for, I think, empathy, just clearing, not allowing any other concerns to get in the way of the conversation.
So you're usually having multiple things going on.
Yeah.
Wow. That is.
I'm not that person who looks at my phone or anything. I just mean, I think so fast that it's like the speed of a conversation is so slow that I'm already planning 7 or 8 other things.
Oh, there's studies on how fast we can hear and process versus how speak. That's why podcasts have that 1x, 2x, 3x speed control.
That's why I have a speed reader, yeah, all of it.
See, I have the opposite. Like I hear podcasts whenever I'm going on a hike, like the Hidden Brain. Do you hear that one? So like I listen to that one, and I'm usually going like pause, I walk, and then because when it's going, I'm implementing something else. Of like, oh, I got to do this. So if I just listen to the podcast, then I'm not landing it. So I literally pause and I'm walking for a bit. Okay, got it. Okay, now let's play some more. Or I'm like going back to like, okay, I was landing when he was talking, so then I had to go back. So for me, if I went faster, nothing would land for me. That's what I've noticed for me. Like I have to slow down. So even when I do YouTube video stuff, I almost pause every now and then. So, and I wish I had that in my lectures. Like they're just talking, I get it, but then I'm thinking.
Don't mess up his nice jacket with that.
It's beautiful. I love, because to me, that was just a great tip on how to be more empathetic, is because it's true, when I'm doing that multitasking thing, I'm just hearing the surface, very shallow part of what they're saying, right? I'm listening for what do I need to do, right? But if I were to kind of, like, I think taking notes, I'm like, most of the time people wouldn't mind, but if I'm talking, and I just hear something that, ooh, I want to think about that, oh, there's another trigger for that, then, jotting that down and going ahead and listening, but really looking for what are some of those things that I need to ponder beyond, which you can't do on the hike because you have to stop it, but if you're sitting somewhere, you can do that. I think I can be a lot more empathetic, but it's really listening to learn something rather than
feature rehearsed or something else. Then I miss the next 5 minutes. And in a normal conversation, like it's okay. My entire lecture or anything else. So the pause button for digital is huge for me. It's like pause, my knowledge is so then I realized, I'm like, is my mind really going that fast? Or did I change? So I stopped
good
practicing.
strategy. I really like it. I'm going to take that on.
90 seconds left. 90 seconds.
Taking that on, I like it.
That works for me. It took me a while.
One minute. Seconds. And here comes back the virtual audience. Back to you, Eric.
All right. Folks, I heard lots of good conversations happening at this table. I can't wait to hear what happened in the virtual breakout rooms. But I am acutely aware that it's right after lunch, and all the blood you need to think with is someplace else. So in the room, please stand and stretch. And virtual, stand and stretch. Unless you're driving, in which case, please don't stand and stretch. But yeah, go ahead and get up and stretch. Move the blood a little bit. All right, good deal. Now, again, I'd like to go back to virtual first, and I'd love to hear back, what did you come up with? What strategies and tactics did you come up with for being more empathetic? Anybody want to come off mute or chat in?
No, I'm delighted to be able to facilitate any of this. Shelley was in the middle of saying something just as we got pulled back to you, and I wanted to ask her if she'd finished saying what she was saying.
Sure. Yeah, let's hear it, Shelley.
Thanks, Dr. Mel. Yes. So for me, a tactic is it starts with myself. If I could create a safe space, and just what you had shared with us in your opening, your very unfortunate story with your mother, which I'm very sorry for, but by you sharing that with us, you've created a space to say where I could connect with that story, just like we heard in the prior Pradeep speaking, and we say it's okay, and create that invitation, that space for the other person to share or not. They may not be ready to or want to, but if, in my experience, if I create that space of empathy and show empathy, how I care, it certainly helps lead the way.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I'm glad you got a chance to get to share that. That's excellent.
It's
Anybody
the challenge
else?
with breakout rooms of being thrown back. The other thing a lot of us were talking about was being able to listen better. Does anybody else from the virtual want to chime in?
We got Susan right here. Hi, Susan.
Hi. Yeah. For me, it was non-judgment. Just not whenever I judge someone else, then I'm not being empathetic. It's validating their feelings. One thing I do want to add, I didn't say this in the breakout session though, but for me, it's staying away from sympathy, because sympathy is feeling sorry for someone else. And that's a very condescending, demeaning way to relate to someone else, in my opinion. Empathy is completely different. Empathy is about equality. Sympathy is about me feeling superior. So just my definition of sympathy helps me articulate what empathy means. Empathy is standing on level ground, validating their feelings, staying away from judgment.
Yes. And you've reminded me of a great animated short that features Brene Brown that you can find on YouTube, where she talks about the difference, thumbs up, the difference between empathy and sympathy. So if you haven't seen that or haven't seen it lately, I encourage you to go to YouTube, search for Brene Brown, Sympathy versus Empathy, and you'll find it. It's a cute animated short that really provides a punchy sort of difference in a quick way. So there you go. All right, let's go to the room. Let's talk to the folks who were in the room virtually. Go ahead and pass the mic around. Sherry, do you want to grab the mic, or Rose? Yeah, please. The mic has become a hot potato.
What came to my mind was the first time somebody really listened to me, and it wasn't even somebody I knew very well, but people say, oh, hi, how you doing? And you go, fine, and everything moves on. He said, how are you doing? And it was like truth serum. Because of the quality of his listening, I just found myself like telling him everything. It was amazing. I didn't even know how I was feeling until it all came out.
Yeah, excellent. One of the things that I talk about in my book is during one-on-ones, during check-ins with your team, one thing that you can do is in a private one-on-one, so I wouldn't do this out in public, but in a private one-on-one, ask your team member, how are you? How are you really? And let them answer that question. That can be a way to demonstrate empathy in a low-risk way, because you're in a private space. Once the team has gelled and everybody knows each other really well, maybe you could broaden that to a larger group, but absolutely something good to do with your team member face-to-face, one-on-one. Anybody else in this group want to share?
I kind of do, because I So I was talking to Pradeep about how my mind is racing and it's hard to listen. And you talked about how podcasts, you can speed them up, right? And Pradeep said, well, I slow my podcasts down so that I have time to process the different ideas that came up. And I just got very inspired by that if I'm listening slow, if I'm really stopping and maybe jotting down things that I want to come back and revisit, then that conversation could actually be more fascinating than the chatter in my head.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the chatter in my head is fascinating. It's just not something I want to share out loud. Awesome. Anything else?
Well, a theme with Rose and I over these last 2 exercises is, again, we're practicing getting our clients, our coachees, to be more empathetic. And we're realizing we need to work on that more on the receiving end, So, and then also looking at, really doing some dedicated study and looking for tools. Rose mentioned a great technique she uses. She watches great content videos and stories and movies, and she kind of reflects and says, so that's how you say that. That's how you, so that was interesting. So I need to look at a lot more tools and a lot more reading and study, even though I'm quite empathetic and profess that, but I need to really, we all need to work on that. It's endless font, I guess, so.
It is, and it starts small. It starts with little tiny steps. And you've just demonstrated that you can learn that very quickly.
We have one other comment too from Shelley.
Ah, that's what that finger means. Yeah.
I hope I'm not giving the finger. I hope I was raising a hand.
No, it was one of these. I didn't understand what it meant.
Okay, great. Okay, talking about empathy. Well, one of the things that I'd like to add to that, do it. It's helpful to read a book about all this information and do research, but like riding a bike, you can read a book on riding a bike, but when you actually ride that bike, it's different, that wobbling, that balancing, till you get it over and over again. And speaking in empathy, learning the skills, the training on how to speak publicly with empathy is really the best way to practice it and learn it. Doing it is learning it. That's my strong belief.
Just start. Just do something. Just do something.
Get public speaking training.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start to land this plane with your permission. The key point is that empathy is a critical skill for all of us, especially managers in today's world of work, and it can be learned. You just demonstrated that. You learned a little bit about empathy right away in just a short exercise, okay? So what I'd like to ask you to do now is make a coffee date, all right? So in the room, turn and talk. Maybe the 3 of you make a coffee date. Maybe you turn and talk with just one other person. And online, I'm going to encourage John to pop you into breakout rooms, or you can chat each other and make a coffee date sometime within the next week, within the next calendar week, to meet and talk about what you've learned. Because what we're doing here is beating the forgetting curve. We don't want to forget what we learned. So make that coffee date. We'll take just a moment to do that, and then we'll end with a final point.
This is the final point.
You're going to cut me off?
No, you're not. You're fine. But
Okay. I've got like a minute worth of stuff to say.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right. So I just encourage you, at least exchange contact details and be accountable to 1 or 2 other humans in this space to talk about what you learned here so it doesn't just vanish and go away. All right? So by now, you should be able to define empathy and create a plan for becoming more empathetic. Did we achieve that? All right, I see nods in the room. Cool. Then thank you so much. If you'd like to talk more about this, you can email me at eric@gerardtrainingsolutions.com. Please pass the word about what happened here today. Check out my book. There are a few over on the table over there. And if you want a book and you're virtual, email me your mailing address and I will ship you one. Check out my podcast, Management Development Unlocked, and you can learn all about me and what I do at gerardtrainingsolutions.com. Thank you.
Let's give it up to Eric Gerard. Eric, you can stay on stage. We do have 10 minutes. We are going to have
I was wondering if you wouldn't mind staying on stage so that we could kind of talk about how you market yourself.
Sure.
Since this is the Star Marketing Summit, right?
Yeah.
So I know most of you here and out there, we are speakers and trainers and coaches and authors and consultants. And at one time, many of us were employees like you were, leaders learning from life. And then somehow you took the things that you had learned in life and work and created a program out of them. And now that's your full-on livelihood. That's what all of us aspire to. So I wonder if you could share with us how did you make that transition? What were some of the ways that you were able to find clients and make this work?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, I've been in this space for 30 years, over 30 years. And I went to the School of Hard Knocks at places like Apple and so on, where I learned a ton very quickly. And during the pandemic, there was kind of a perfect storm where work wasn't going so well, and we weren't really happy living in Silicon Valley. And so March of 2020, we said, let's move. So we came up to Seattle, we moved, bought a house. My wife started a new job and started a side gig. I decided to go ahead and start this job, and I became a scuba instructor, all before December of 2020. So there was kind of like catalytic thing that happened, the pandemic, that pushed us into it. But I didn't have another job search in me. I just couldn't. Please no. So I thought, hey, I can hang out my own shingle. I can do this. And I learned a lot by trial and error. And then I started surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me. So I got involved with something called the Craft of Consulting, which is a fantastic mastermind led by a woman named Deb Zahn. Very wise, very helpful. I'm part of the talent development think tank. I started going to conferences. I met John. I met a ton of people in the Seattle area, and I just continued to iterate. So now my marketing scheme is actually pretty complicated. There's a lot going on. There's LinkedIn, there's an email newsletter, there's the book, there's my blog, there's my free programs, my master classes. So there's a lot. There's the podcast. So there's a lot that I'm doing to try to get the word out there. And I'm trying to learn how to do it in a way that's not spammy or slimy, because I hate that. So now my next thing is to learn how to sell in a way that is relational and not pushy, spammy, slimy, gross. Because I've been part of that and hated it.
So I just met you a couple of weeks before the marketing summit, and you did the same thing with me. You said, give me your address and I'll mail you my book. And then after I got your book, I started getting your emails. And it's funny, you know how you get some of these emails and you're like rolling your eyes or you're unsubscribing. When I saw yours, I felt kind of like, so I do feel like you're doing a good job. So if you are not one to subscribe to people's newsletters, his is good to subscribe to. But the other thing that we talked about when I did meet you in Orlando was I felt like you had some interesting bundles and packages and the way that you put together your services. Could you speak to that?
Well, my marquee program is called Lead Like a Pro, and it goes with my book, which is called Lead Like a Pro, The Essential Guide for New Managers. And that is my marquee program, but not everybody has an appetite for a 10-hour-long program. That's 4 2.5-hour days. Some folks, that's just too much. So I've decomposed things into smaller chunks. So I've got programs that take an hour and talk about things like goal setting. Or we can scale up and we go 15 hours on presentation skills. But I've got 19 or 20 programs that go from comprehensive deep dives to, hey, we're just going to spend an hour and do a lunch and learn on goal setting, time management, project management, something like that.
So you talked about the different ways you put yourself out there, but a lot of us put ourselves out there. We write great content on LinkedIn, we do great videos, podcasts, etc. And it's not the case that just if you build it, they will come. So it feels to me like there's still something that I know the fact that you niche to a really specific target is part of the value. Once you get that one good client, you get a lot of referrals and things from that one. But anything else about beyond putting yourself out there, what is that thing that helps you actually get the hook, get something on the hook and pull it in? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think what I'm learning is that marketing is really important because you've got to have that social proof. So I consider all my marketing to be social proof. Look at Eric. He knows what he's talking about. He's written a book. He's got this podcast where famous people have come and spoken. So that's all proof that I'm actually worth paying attention to. But then the next step of that is sales. And so what I'm doing with sales is connecting with people who are active on LinkedIn, who are part of my niche, who who are part of a very specific group of folks. I'm not talking to 1,000 people. This week, I'm talking to 25 people. And I'm just keeping it really manageable, 25 to 50 people who fit a certain set of criteria, and it's just going really slow. So, you know, I wouldn't ask a pretty lady to go on a date the first time I met her, right? You just don't do that. She's going to say no, most likely. Small steps, liking, commenting, getting into some conversation, and then if it actually seems like this person's actually interested in what you're doing, then asking if they'd be willing to get on a call. But not going right for, hey, will you get on a call with me? Yeah. Hey, can I have your money? Like that's not going to work. And again, School of Hard Knocks, it took a while to learn that.
That is so helpful. If anybody has any more questions about that and how he markets himself, then certainly let us know. And it looks like we are getting set up for, oh, I know what's happening. Eric has to give up his microphone for the next speaker. So if anybody does have any, because marketing, if anybody has any other thoughts about questions for Eric or anybody here as we talked about this marketing, go ahead and say them out loud. I can't see. Oh, I can see over here if I want to. Anybody in the virtual? Let me see. Oh, here we go. Yeah, don't see. Thank you, Eric. I know I warned him, yes. I warned him that I was going to come up and interview him after his presentation because when I met him, he was about to go to England to do a presentation, which is always nice. So international gigs, any insight on how you get international gigs, or was that something that somebody referred you to?
Either one.
Yeah, very cool. Yes, please.
Good. How about the virtual? How many of your gigs are virtual where you can?
How many are virtual with music?
About half my gigs are virtual. So I'll travel and do about half, and then I've got kind of a mini studio set up at my house. Nothing like John Chen's house, but I've got a really nice ring light and a really nice microphone and a standing desk. And when I built my office, I had special lighting put in so I could dim it and control it. So I'm all set for virtual.
What would you wish you could have, or what do you lose in that virtual? Hopefully nothing. You probably gain from it, but.
Yeah, go actually, if you can stand next to him, that would be great. We have a camera on you on the right side television, by the way.
I haven't lost anything. I haven't lost anything in terms of the reach or the way that I'm able to talk to people. I just prefer face-to-face. That's my preference. But client demands say, we're not paying for travel. Our people are all over the place. We're not going to fly them all in. So I suit the client.
That's great. Great. Thank you.
All right. So, one more round of applause for Mr. Eric Girard. All right. Coming up next. He's an immigrant from Laos. Did I get that right? I got to make sure. What country?
Seed of refugees from Laos.
Refugee from Laos. Not good. I got to make sure I got that right. This gentleman, our next speaker, he's a high school dropout turned diversity staffing entrepreneur. He's going to share with you how Employee 27 changed his life and why you need to get out of your natural environments. Please put your hands together for Stephen Mohammed Matley.
Hello. Thank you, everyone. Thank you first off to John Chen and Engaging Virtual Meetings and everyone here in attendance and also virtually. This is amazing. Halfway through, if I get hot, I might take off my jacket. But my name is Stephen Matley, and this is Representation Matters. So starting off, kind of giving you a little backstory about myself, that's me growing up in the south side of Seattle, housing projects. That's actually probably the only family picture also across in the Pinto with my mother, father, and sister before they divorced. My sister and I never really grew up with each other, but that is a picture of my mother and us when we were younger. And I love showing this picture of my grandparents. I'm a proud seat of refugees from Laos. My father is actually Lao and Muslim, and his father was Malaysian. My mother was Pho Lao and Buddhist. So you can only imagine some of the things that was going on in our house. My grandparents actually, shout outs to them, my grandfather and grandmother are actually death concentration camp survivors from the Communist War. And they were able to manage to escape shortly after. Actually, there was 2 attempts for him to escape because he did serve on the Royal Lao Army as the chief of police in Laos. So just a little background of my story about the different upbringings, you know, growing up in the ways that I did and how I did. And so you heard them pronounce my name as Stephen, but in similar other platforms, I've been able to publicly announce that my legal name is actually Muhammad. And so a lot of people wonder, like, wow, how did you get from Stephen to Muhammad? Well, you see, when my parents divorced, my mother wanted to make sure that I disown my identity and anything related to my father, rightfully in her mind, right? And so she decided to just have me go and run with the name Stephen, hence the reason why a lot of people know me by that. Even though I did not grow up as a person in the Muslim community, I have a lot of respect. And I believe that, you know, Muhammad is actually one of the most common and popular names in the world, if you look that up. So early at a young age, I learned something about, you know, your natural network, your given identity and the rules and the ways that you were brought up and what you considered normal and or what you're conditioned to believe. And so a lot of this talk about representation matters is you getting outside of your natural network. Meaning, you know, here you have middle school Stephen from the south side of Seattle trying to affiliate with what I felt was safe and what I felt was my identity. But sometimes, you know, even your natural network may be giving you the wrong information. It's interesting because we don't ever think about that. It could be your cousin, your brother, your mom, your dad, your uncle, your aunt, that could actually be giving you bad information. But because we have this loyalty or this conditioning and conformity with our identities, we believe that those are the values and those are the rules. And so this is just an example of some of the obstacles and situations and thinking that I was going through. Until I found my community. And this is why I said, get outside of your natural network. Hip hop culture is actually from dating back to African and Black culture, and so I do want to pay that respect. But in terms of expression, being able to identify and really just show who you are, the teamwork, the people. And mind you, at this time, middle school to high school Steve there, I was just kind of lost and confused. I mean, you know, you got my upbringing, you got a lot of the story rooted in wars and, you know, just a lot of questions. And one day walking home in the south side of Seattle, I saw a community center called the Union Gospel Mission. And they happened to welcome us. And I saw people doing these weird moves and listening to boom bap hip hop. And I said, wow, something resonates with me, right? And so I started to learn and practice and invite others. And the reason why that red truck is so significant to me is because during that time when gangs and division and even people that looked like me, but different ethnicity groups, we didn't always have anything to come together about. And so breakdancing and that little van was able to pick up people from different neighborhoods, different ethnicity groups. But we had one thing in common. We all loved hip hop. We all loved breakdancing. We wanted to learn, share, and create a safer place that was nonviolent during those times. Again, you need to get outside of your natural network. And how do you do that? Well, look for shared values and find the shared activities. That way you can celebrate the shared success. That's what breakdancing did for me. When I started kind of getting through my high school years, shout outs to employee 176, that's me, employee 27. And this is, I'll go more into John a little bit later, but this is kind of the start of how I kind of stumbled upon this journey. I dropped out and moved out at 17 years old because I wanted to get outside of that environment. There was actually a drive-by shooting in my backyard. And at the time, there was this divide and conflict in my neighborhood. And I wanted to get out. And the only way that I could get out was becoming employee 27. By the way, I know I said I dropped out, but I did go back the next year and finish my diploma. Some of you might call me a super senior. But so that's my way of spinning it in a positive way. Again, things that motivated me to do that was I met this core group of people through telemarketing. I remember being young, 17, picking up the phone, trying to figure out how to pay bills and just get out of my neighborhood in any way possible. This was my natural network. They weren't. And so through this years of us working together in the mortgage business, we learned and taught things from ground up. We started the telemarketing room, hiring people to become telemarketers with no experience. I was one of the first employees. I still remember going into my interview with a hat backwards, never been to Bellevue, and the person looked at me and said, we are full. And I said, what do you mean the training class is full? Hello. What do you mean the training class is full? Like, I thought there was an ad where you can make $60 an hour telemarketing. And he said, well, you know what? Let me just show you the pencil pitch, what you could make. And I just remember his name was Scott Kirkeberg, rest in peace. He goes, do you know what a rebuttal is? And I said, no, because I gave you an objection. I said, I told you I couldn't do something and you rebutted it. And I said, no. I said, and I'll tell you what, I know a lot of people are going to come in here and tell you that they have all this experience more than myself, and I'm just this high school kid. But I will let you know that I'm a coachable person, and if you teach me, I will prove to you. And he's like, it's kind of commission only, too. I was like, I'll take it. So I showed up, and from then, the rest was pretty much history. I ended up being employee 27, setting, breaking, training, documenting the whole series over the next couple years that ended up leading into my first round of entrepreneurship. So from 17 to about 19, just 2 years that we were there, when they started expanding and made some really bad moves in their expansion into the third office, which didn't include our team, they started to go the opposite direction. So we decided to go ahead and start our own mortgage refinance company with less than $5,000. Yes, we did. And I was so happy to say that we were revenue generating, and all of us have gone on to do fantastic things, such as become a pilot, working for Fortune companies, opening up our own businesses. And these were just some of the people and employees that we started the company with. So thank you, and a shout out to them. I know some people thinking like, okay, so you came from this neighborhood, you're breakdancing, you're going into this corporate world. How on earth did you get into this stage and into this other scene of rapping? You see, when I was working, I still never ever left my passion for hip hop. Even though I stopped dancing and going into different breakdancing competitions, I still was very much involved, from buying turntables and supporting other hip hop artists, especially the underrepresented ones. And that's what we were. As a Southeast Asian in hip hop, there were very few of us representing and telling our stories. Again, here's my chance to go on stage and meet new people and travel. And so that's what we actually did. Here I have a picture with Far East Movement, who actually has gone all over the world, is a multi-platinum selling a group that we actually worked with. and had a lot of performances with. Those are some of the stages and audience members that I got to look out into. And here I am talking about the South Seattle, Southeast Asian life in a rap. And it led us to opening up for other multi-platinum artists like Sean Kingston, Cassie, Eve, Rich Boy, Ryan Leslie. And I'm just so amazed. The Dream, I can go on. And I just want to say, you know, being in the hip hop community, again, it's just another way of getting outside of your natural network. And community and culture is so key because, again, we had shared values of us loving hip hop and the elements. We had an activity, whether it be in the concerts or at a club, and we were able to celebrate as a group the milestones that we made and the amount of experiences that we gave the audience and attendees that showed up to just hear us speak and rap. During that time, while I was writing bars and working and owning my own company, I had an opportunity as a high school dropout who really was not proficient at math. I didn't realize that I learned through the mortgage industry how to read matrix, the rate matrices actually. So a lot of you who are homeowners out there may or may not know some of these things that your loan officers see or your banks. But it's basically a rate matrix that shows you, based on your debt to income ratio or the loan amount and your credit score, what your rate should be or what your rate you're going to be offered. And so, I don't know. Okay, so let me go backwards. What was that? Back. There you go. Sorry, I pressed the button. So during this time, I didn't realize that, the tech industry and engineers didn't know how to translate this. Because see, during the time in the mortgage business and the fax machine, I was around for that, we were getting hundreds of banks sending in their rate sheets. And you would have to learn how to decipher and define, based on a person's credit score, loan to value, and debt to income ratio, what interest rates and the banks that are offering the best rates. I was able to define this and actually apply this and write it into a database that many loan officers all over the world were using for a company called Lion Mortgage Technology Source, all the way out in Gig Harbor. Here I am again, going outside of my natural network, finding people that are willing to share and learn and be coachable, and then going outside of the fact that, wow, I didn't think I was good at math, but I actually am. And I was able to actually code and learn tech and how to QA and test it and make sure that before we publish any rates for these banks that we're representing, that they were accurate. And so that responsibility and that identity that you started stepping into. So from the mortgage business, I learned how to pivot into tech. And through that, I also learned how to pivot into telecom, because when I left the mortgage business in my first round of entrepreneurship, going into mortgage technology and having that opportunity to be in tech, because I was a high school dropout, I couldn't get a job anywhere in the tech field as much as I wanted to be in tech. So, I mean, and by the way, when you're in tech, I didn't realize that coming from the south side of Seattle and growing up on food banks and welfare systems, like you're walking in and you're seeing everyone eat bagels and coffee and not realizing that was just part of the culture that they provide you with free food. I was already sold. I mean, where do I sign up? And so that, to me, again, was just, again, what you might call a culture shock. So I was like, wow, y'all want to feed me bagels? It's the little things like that. But that experience led me in that confidence to say, well, you know what? I do belong, and I can continue to learn. So when I had an opportunity to apply at a company called Quest, aka CenturyLink, I did it. And I ended up becoming a branch leader over time. And the reason why this award was so significant to me was because I was actually being made fun of for asking for help. I wanted to learn more about telecom. It's a big, big industry and just so much to learn. I remember my first day of training when they said, if there's a day that you come in here and you don't leave saying that you learned something new, then I don't know what you did, because I've been here X amount of years and I still don't know. And so that was really helpful, just to learn and go through that. And the reason why this award, again, is so significant is because it's kind of like, yeah, the people that bullied me and said, oh, look, he's getting extra help just for this and that. Well, guess what? It all paid off. So as much as, it was not the cool thing to do to get help, it was a great thing. And it helped my resume a lot. And it gave me these awards where out of 2,000 different account consultants, I was considered a branch leader. I thought life was still going good. You had telecom industry, I had a lot of this experience, and it led me to working at a consulting firm. That was actually how I got into the recruiting business. During this time, I had access to a yacht and sounder suites, and I actually said, hey, you know what? I was discriminated from becoming in tech, and I remember what it's like to feel like you don't belong in certain industries and how people will bully you. And during this time, I realized, and I read an article through an event that I went to with Washington Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math Advocacy. And I realized that the amount of Black and people of color, especially women in tech, were very low at a lot of these companies. From an economic development point, that's just not fair, and it's not equitable. So I wanted to do something to make it where, well, if I did it in breakdancing, if I did it in the mortgage business, I don't see why I couldn't do it in this industry. So while I had access to a lot of these privileged, earned or unearned luxuries, I said, what's good of it if I don't share it? So I decided to reach out to the community and said, who else is out there experiencing this? And I stumbled upon a group that used to go by MIT. And I was like, oh, the MIT? No. Minorities in Tech MIT. And I just thought it was amazing. And so I said, you know what, let me sponsor the first couple pizza meetups, and let's just have a conversation about how do we help and support and network with one another. And by the way, I got access to a yacht. This company gave me access to a yacht. Y'all want to go? And that's what became of that picture. And it just gave us time to conversate, to network, to say, I know how you feel. So that was kind of the start of, the recruiting world that I got into. And as I started realizing, wow, there's so much community, there's so much work to do. And if I was to go and leave this organization that I was a top 5 ranked consultant, what would happen? Well, I did. And I entered my second round of entrepreneurship again. And I created a company called SM Diversity, and this is just one of our snapshots from one of our events with people that have supported us over the last 9+ years. So I'm very thankful. Again, I looked at the industry and said, what is a blue ocean strategy where I don't have to compete with all these other staffing and recruiting firms? And that's what it was that I looked back and said, diversity, equity, inclusion, community, and culture is very important to my journey. And that's exactly how I was able to get out. So how could I pay it forward and give it to other people? And so I built a company that was focused on jobs and opportunities, but we also want to make sure that we focus on more programs to welcome veterans, people with disabilities, women, people of color, and those that maybe have overlooked. Because how could you say that you actually are hiring the best talent if you're not using every possible way to find those talents? If we don't consciously include, we will unconsciously exclude. Oh, wow, here we are. Through this time, we said, how do we continue to go out there and connect based on shared values, diversity, equity, inclusion, shared activities such as this hack diversity, equity, inclusion, and shared success, where we can all celebrate that we're all walking away with something that we learned from one another or shared. And that was very important during the time when we started the company 9 years ago. So thank you, Wands, for being a keynote speaker there. Speaking of high school dropout, I never thought that I would ever see a college. I used to tell people the only time I've ever been in college was to perform one of my rap songs. But I did it. While I was welcoming my second child, actually that's my first child, he's actually 21 now, on that cover with the Seattle Times with me there. And here we are with Ijuma Ulo and Robin DiAngelo, 2 best-selling authors being featured as diversity, equity, inclusion influencers of the year with Seattle Magazine. And I actually went to Cornell University for their Human Resource Business Partnership Program with a focus on diversity, equity, inclusion. And then I even took our company, SM Diversity, to University of Washington's Business Consulting Program. Again, this is me trying to lead by example of how can I get outside of my natural network and continue to get the resources and networks and the knowledge that it takes to continue to build my company up. We were able to get ourselves featured on NBC as far as Asian Pacific Islanders and sharing our stories and breaking the stereotypes. I even did a TEDx at University of Washington. And this was about psychological safety, because during that time, what people didn't know was what was really my motivation for starting a business was that I didn't feel safe at the companies that I worked for. I worked for toxic leaders and environments that I was subjected to. And so I wanted to be different. I wanted to change it. And that's actually why I started studying about psychological safety. And that was what my topic was about, was that how can we all do the right thing based on what we probably been taught this wrong information by the people that we love. While all this was happening and I was investing into businesses and running my company, I got scammed. I invested nearly $250,000 in a cable telecom company that they didn't pay us back. Do y'all remember the lockdowns, COVID? You know, my family survived it, and I do know somebody that nearly lost their life, and you may as well. And why is this important that I'm sharing all this? Because collectively, that is also a shared value. It's some of the things that we share in terms of the struggles and obstacles that maybe you all face. Divorce, wasn't it some study that like half of marriages end up in that? But we still believe and we still get married. But so, you know, these are things that happen to me. And you might have saw the Employee 27, my journey, and that picture of John and I when we were young kids at 19. Well, John, 2 years ago, around this time, passed away. He was killed in a car accident. And so I always want to make sure going forward that I dedicate all of this journey to people like John, Employee 176. Because, you know, without people like John, those moments and those memories of us being competitive and sharing and collaborative in the telemarketing rooms all through those years and just keeping that hope and belief. And by the way, when I was going through all of the things from, you know, building a company and going on to these yachts and just what I consider success, to even some of the hard, tough lessons, John was part of all of that. You know, I remember when I couldn't even go grocery shopping because I was too scared to catch COVID, that John would actually go out there and do that for me. So thank you, John. And before I go any further, if you have a moment out there, virtually or in person, if you can, please scan this QR code or the URL below. Enter the code SMD. And I would love to hear your feedback. It's very important that I continue to be able to deliver this message of why more people need to get out. And the way you do it is through shared values, shared activities, and shared success. So thank you for supporting Employee 27 by giving your review. And as I wrap up here, you know, we were at the Southeast Asian Unity Conference, Youth Unity Conference, and also at the UW Medicine Behavioral Health Conference. And and thank you, John, for making sure I put this on, because it was I'm just so humbled and grateful to read the 19 pages of reviews. You know, as a dropout, I think this was probably like my first A that I got. So it felt good to be a 4.0 student at 42. So thank you if you do take the time to do that. I would appreciate that. And we will anonymously share that. Again, you need to get outside of your natural network. Look for those shared values. Find and include yourself in those shared activities. And when you have those moments of shared success, share them. Here's how I did it when I was in more recent years, through online communities. So when everyone was going through the pandemic, I said, well, while I'm here, and this is awesome that we could do this virtually because this is kind of speaks to the proof of concept and the great outcomes that can come out of it, is how do I find and create more communities in space? So that's exactly what we did. I continued to reach out to my network in LinkedIn to the point where I have over 25,000 first-degree connections on LinkedIn. We created the Hack Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Group, and then created an online group called Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Community with over 2,000 members. Clubhouse was really big. I mean, Zuckerberg to Elon Musk was talking about, Elon was talking about monkeys playing video games on Clubhouse. And I was like, this is some good juice. I hope everyone else is on Clubhouse. We built a Clubhouse organically to 10,000 members at the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and only one of the few Diversity, Equity, Inclusion clubhouses because of what was going on during the time of the lockdowns and the murder of George Floyd. We also created a Seattle Diversity, Equity, Inclusion group to make sure that we can continue to share jobs and opportunities to people that care about these values. So that's one of the things that we did during that time. So I know I have a few minutes left, and as I round it out with these couple clips, during the lockdown, and I have two more clips, during the lockdown, I realized, again, how much representation matters. So going back to my roots of music, events, and conferences, and looking for a network, I met a group called Sabadi Fest, and I helped consult some of the founding members on why it's important to showcase Southeast Asian music, culture, food to the public. And here's a little clip of what we were able to accomplish.
You are on my mind, all day, all night. I miss you all the time, baby. Keep hot to yum, yeah. Missing you all day, all night. Keep hot to lie down.ทุกคืนก็ยังฝันเห็นเจ้าข้างกาย You are on my mind, all day, all night, all day, all night. I won't test you, falling, but waiting for you. You're my guy, won't let you prove.
Thank you. And that was historic, and they're actually going to be doing their next one here this year as well. And it's amazing to see thousands of people from all over 50 states and worldwide come together for music, culture, community, belonging. Again, get outside of your natural network. And these are various different ethnicity groups. Going back to like when I was in the breakdancing days, various different ethnicity groups coming together to dance. And before I close out, one more last small clip. This is just a clip of one of our Hack Diversity, Equity, Inclusion events. Again, this one was, oops, sorry. Here we go. Oh, can I play it?
You might need to go to the laptop and click on it.
Oh,
to see
okay,
if that
cool.
works.
Here it is. Can I click on it?
There you go.
Shout outs to Hack Diversities, Google, Microsoft, Uber, B of A, Comcast, Amazon, Starbucks, and more. Various partners that have showed up. Again, this was a co-learning, co-working environment. Thank you. So, again, I'm Stephen Matley. Oh, how do I forward this?
Now you might need to go to the computer and advance it.
Again, yay. Okay, here we go.
There you go.
Huh? Advance now?
Adam will be there. Go ahead and continue. We got you here.
Yeah, 2 more slides. Thank you, everyone. And this is the beauty of not being perfect, but striving for perfection. Represent. And Employee 27, getting out, is now the CEO and founder of SM Diversity. Again, Stephen Muhammad Madley, Employee 27. I appreciate your time.
Let's get a Stephen Madley.
Super inspiring. Thank you so much. And I'm curious, I felt that I was admonished quite a few times in that presentation to get outside of my natural network. So I'm curious, just as we transition into our feature keynote, that everyone kind of share, like, how is it that you're getting out of your natural network, or where are you maybe inspired to go outside your natural network? What have you done recently that took you outside your natural network? Anybody from our virtual audience or in here? Rose, are you outside your natural network today? No, I think you're kind of with peers. You're kind of with your peeps, right?
But if there is a time that you were out of your natural network, please let us know. For me, one of mine, Sherry, was skateboarding, all right? I went from honors English to being one of the punk rock skateboarders in my hometown of Stockton, California. And it's what gave me, I think, a lot of confidence in doing entrepreneurial type things, different things in front of people. I actually became a sponsored amateur skateboarder. If you have ever seen the movie Dogtown and Z-Boys, I was 2 teams after that. And so there's so much value in getting out of your natural network. I also believe in international travel. I have taken all 3 of my children to the village where my grandparents grew up in China. And that trip, I think, has left an indelible mark with them. So something I think that's so valuable. Back to you, Sherry.
So interestingly enough, as we think about just coming to the marketing summit, we've been a little radio shy, kind of quiet, a lot of people off the camera. And, even within a group that you may not be that different from, they're still not the people you usually talk to. So please look at the marketing summit as an opportunity to talk to some people that you're not always talking to. You're climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. That's something, right, Daryl? Very good. So I'm pretty excited. I think, are we mic'd up and ready, Mike? John?
You got to keep going to make sure the slide deck is ready, Sherry.
Oh,
so
we want to make sure. Okay.
Why don't you bring somebody up with you? You can bring
I think
Stephen with you.
Daryl's got something here.
I feel strong to say this about Stephen, who just left, Muhammad, who you just heard from. We just talked when we were back. There he is. When I came to Seattle, the Catholic Church came to me in the 90s. I had written a paper on the Khmu and the Mien and the Hmong who were coming from Southeast Asia. And the Catholic Church saw that and said, hey, could you speak to the kids, the Khmu and Mien mostly? They don't know why they're here. Why were they coming here? And it was a big cultural change. It was extraordinary time, Muhammad. You probably heard the stories of it. It was really amazing, taking all of that culture, coming to America, which is completely different. What kind of meat is this? It's wrapped in plastic. But anyway, I just wanted to call out Muhammad because I remember I was very close to the Mien and the Khmu community from Laos. And I remember the entrepreneurs like you, Muhammad, who would get money, go out and say, hey, these kids need music gear so they can go out and make money. So it was really emotional time to see the leaders coming in. It was tough too for the men because the women came in. All the women groups in America were like, oh, come on in, honey, we'll do sewing. We'll sell your stuff at the Pike Place Market. The men were like, people say, hey, do you eat? They would joke amongst themselves, they just, I don't know English, so I don't know what to say. I just say yes to everything. So, but I remember the entrepreneurs coming out though, Muhammad, coming out and empowering everybody, and it was really tough for the men. And so, great job what you're doing. Thank you.
Outstanding. Let's give a round of applause for our in-person audience, including Daryl. All right, let's see. And now for the finale. You're going to love this. Our next speaker is a multi-decade singer from the Northwest. He's the grandpa to amazing babies. And he's the voice on Macklemore's Thrift Shop, earning him a double platinum Grammy and 1.8 billion views. Please give us a big star welcome to Michael the Wands Wansley.
Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is being awesome. I'm gonna pop some
Today, I am Michael the Wands Wansley, and I am very, very happy to be here. Why? Because I'm happy to be anywhere. It's always good to be on the right side of the grass. Know what I mean? So, what am I doing here? I don't know, let's find out. I have an agenda. I want to talk about the one thing that I know everything about, and that's me. Because I know that I'm not special. I'm just like any one of you. We have so much in common, it's frightening. Yet, in this world, all we are is divided. We're shown ways that we're different. We're encouraged to find other ways that we're different. But I kind of stay away from that, right? And I'll tell you why later. But I'm going to tell you my story. And what does this have to do with you, the human condition, building confidence, and some final takeaways? And if there are any questions, put them in the chat or just ask me. I have an answer for everything. And I'm not kidding when I say that. If you have a question, I have an answer. It may not be the answer you want, but it'll still be an answer. So, who am I? I started as a 6-year-old child in Anchorage, Alaska. My dad was stationed at Fort Richardson. It's 1967, and I'm coming out of class, going to my cubby, getting my imitation bearskin coat, and there are 2 kids there, and one of them's, "You really do know how to sing?" "Mm-hmm." "Well, do you know this song?" And he mentioned a song. And I sang a little bit of it, put my coat on, put my gloves on, turned around. Now there's 3 kids. And one of them says, "Well, do you know this song?" "Yeah." And I sang a little bit of it. I started walking down the hall, and those 3 kids became like 5 kids. And we go out the door, and we're on the schoolyard. It's in October. And October in Anchorage was always cool because that's when it started to snow. So there are these big, huge flakes slowly falling down. You know the ones that you like to catch your tongue on. You know, you catch them with your tongue. And I remember all of a sudden there's like 6 or 8, and I stopped counting. And titles would come out, "Do you know this song?" And I go, "Which one?" "Oh, do you know it by this artist?" "Oh, yeah," and I sing a little bit of it. And every time they said something, I would sing it. And out of nowhere, I hear from behind me a faint voice. "Michael, Michael." I turn around, and there's this lady running across the street. She's got like the June Cleaver outfit on, the dress that goes out to here, and the red and white checked apron, fuzzy slippers. It's my mom. Because we lived across the street from the school. So she scurries up there, and she's almost out of breath. "Michael, are you all right?" And I look up at her, and I said, "Yeah, Mom, I'm just singing." In my whole existence, that is my very first memory. And I tell you that story because it became the guideline of who I would become. We left in '68, moved to Tacoma, Washington, and then out to Lakewood. And I started going to school at Lake Louise Elementary School, Clover Park School District. And I tell you what, there was nothing more embarrassing than the first day of 2nd grade, because they didn't have a desk for me. But they put me in the middle of the class where the desk was going to go. Yeah, I didn't know anybody. And I'm standing there being looked at by everybody. It took a long time for me to get over that. And I didn't even realize how much it bothered me until about 2 years ago. But I'll get to that too. Next year, third grade, I had made friends. One in particular, my mother's best friend, had a son, and his name was Michael as well. And he played piano, and he knew everybody, but he was, I'd say, well, I can't use that word. He was not very nice sometimes. And if you remember, I Leave It to Beaver, if you remember that show, there was a cat named Eddie Haskell who was always nice around the parents. But if he got away from the parents, he was who he really was. That's what Michael was like. And his mom and my mom were best friends, which made it really difficult for me when I came home all beat up, shuffled, dirt, scrapes on my arms. Michael, what happened to you? I got into a fight. Well, why did you get into a fight? Well, Michael said this, and then Ken Jones came, and then these other people came. What do you mean, Michael? Michael wouldn't do something like that. Okay. I saw that. I saw what was coming with that. The end of third grade, though, I surprised everyone. Not only could I run really fast, but I watched a lot of television, which means I knew a lot of different ways to escape. And this is back in the days when elementary schools, junior high, they were all surrounded by woods. So I had 5 or 6 different ways to get out, which sometimes they worked and sometimes they didn't. The last day of third grade, I'll never forget, because they didn't tell anybody I was going to do this. They had a talent show. And I walked out in front of the whole school and stood in the middle of the stage. Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. Never understood a single word he said, but I helped him drink his wine. And he always had some mighty fine wine. And lo and behold, everyone in the school started singing with me. Joy to the world, all you boys and girls now. Now, you would have thought that that would have changed a lot of things. Summer was great because people, you sang at the school, you sang at the school. Now, some 50 years later, my Facebook friends that I went to elementary school with still remind me of that moment. Again, I already knew what I was supposed to do. Some kids wanted to be firemen, some kids wanted to be policemen, plumbers, whatever. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be a star. And from elementary school to middle school to high school, it was always the same. Dude, you're really good. You're going to be famous. Man, I really like the way you do that. You sound just like so-and-so. Well, I grew up on the radio. I sung everything that was on the radio. Back in the day when they didn't have just hip-hop radio and rock radio. And I mean, this was before FM. They played everything. So you could hear John Denver, followed by, Chicago Transit Authority, followed by the Four Tops, followed by Perry Como. If you don't know who Perry Como is, you should probably go look that up. When I got to high school, I have to go back. I have to tell you of something that's really important, only because there was one adult who was very, very, very important to my growth and development. He was the first adult outside of my family to tell me that I was talented. I'll never forget him. His name is Dr. Ben Keller, and he passed away about a month ago, but I got to go to his celebration of life. And he always kind of looked at me and it's like, gee, Mike, I don't understand why you can't do this, why you can't do that. And he was just talking about parts that needed to be sung or words that needed to be pronounced. And one day he just looked at me and he goes, you know, Mike, you're really good. I hope you continue singing because you're really good at it. Wow, really good at it. Now my mom said I was good. My dad said, hey, you're all right. But to have someone that I really didn't know tell me that, it was the one thing that I've always been able to do. I got out of high school and decided to go somewhere where all these people that I'd known since second grade weren't going to be. And I really didn't want to go to the college across town because then my parents could come and see me whenever they wanted to. So I chose Ellensburg, Washington, just on the other side of the Cascades, about 107 miles from Seattle, as the crow flies. And I couldn't wait. I mean, we drove there and I waved goodbye to Tacoma because I swore I was never coming back there. I was leaving. I didn't know what to expect. I'd been there to visit the college, just a small town, but I'd really never been there before. I don't know. My best friend went with me the spring before this fall, and we decided to go walking around the high school. Why not? So we're walking around the halls of the high school, looking in windows. People are looking at us. And he's Hawaiian, and as you can tell, I'm black. So in Ellensburg, we were kind of a thing, but we didn't know that. So we round this one corner, and there's a guy in a really ugly golf-type pants and an ugly golf-type coat. Can I help you, gentlemen? We're just looking around. Are you attending classes here? Nope. Well, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And he walked us to the door, and we got to my car and just started laughing because, lo and behold, that was the only time either of us had ever been kicked out of school. And we thought it was great because we got kicked out for being dark. It was awesome. It was awesome. I'll never forget that. But I decided I had to go there. I knew my parents were never going to drive over the mountains to come and see me every weekend. And I didn't have a car yet, so it was perfect. I could become who I always wanted to be, not hindered by all the things that had built up, all the stereotypes that had built up with kids that I went to school with, not hindered by what my parents thought I should be. I could be me. Classmates had shortened last name and it became Wands. And because I would sing anywhere for anyone at any time, it became the Wands. That was in 8th grade. So I've been the Wands for a long time. But in mid-September 1979, that person was born 3 hours after my parents were done dropping me off for the prep week for incoming freshmen. Because 3 hours after they left, I went to work. Meaning, I was the epitome of a social butterfly. Because I was uninhibited. I was unhindered. I could be who I wanted to be. 4 hours after they were gone, I had met 3 guys, 2 of which had stereo equipment. I had records and tapes. 5 hours after they left, we were telling people, go to this hall because we're going to have a dance. And 7 hours after they were gone, there's 80 kids in there. Dancing, I'm switching records, stuff like that, and I could dance, and so it's yeah, and I could sing along with the records, and yeah. It was great. Go to the dining hall the next day for breakfast. Dude, yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, man, that was great. So we did it again the next day. Then we took a day off and did it again. So in those 3 dances, it's like I met 3/4 of all the incoming freshmen. And it was wild because when the upperclassmen came back, I'm standing in line at the dining hall, just waiting to go get my food, and I hear this guy behind me go, "Oh yeah? Well, who is this Juan's guy anyway?" I was gonna say, "What?" I wasn't gonna do that. But it happened anyway. Happened anyway. Now, Ellensburg in 1979 was different in the sense that it was stereotypically a cowboy town, a farming town, right? They just happened to have a state college there. And there was so much I didn't know. Like, when you joyride with people from the west side of the mountains, it's always good to know the rules of how the east side of the mountains works. Ellensburg is located in the middle of this valley called the Kittitas Valley, and it's surrounded by hills, and you can drive up to those hills. It's really nice. It's really cool in the springtime. Well, this guy had a 72 Mustang, and we were off. But on the way back, "Hey, what's that?" "It's a bird." "I know what that is. That's a pheasant. We should take it. I could cook it." "Yeah, that sounds great." So what did we do? Strung it up to the front of his car. Went back into town. Now, the speed limit's like 20 miles an hour. So there are people on the sidewalk who are just watching us drive by. Like, and I noticed everybody was doing that. What are they looking at? Nobody knew. We almost got to campus, and there was a policeman behind us, county sheriff. Uh-oh, everybody's like sitting up straight. And we get into the parking lot, and then he turns his lights on. Has us all get out of the car. All give him the identification. We're standing next to the car in a row, and it's like, we don't know what's going to happen. It's like, oh, we're going to get kicked out of school, and classes haven't even started yet. So he asked, "What's this?" "It's a bird." Duh. "No, I mean, what is this?" "Well, we found it." Told him the story, and he goes, "Didn't you know you can't claim a hen? You can only hunt male pheasants." And we're looking at each other going, "Oh, didn't know that." And because we were new, and because he was nice, he let us go, which is great. 2 days after that, I met this guy named Charlie Sablon, who's 24 years old. And we both liked football, and we played around a lot. He introduced me to his friends. All of his friends were like upperclassmen. I'm 17. But for some reason, they liked me. I don't know why that would be. Classes have started, and I would go down to campus. I lived a little bit north of campus, and there was this big wasteland of nothing in between where my dorm was and where like the dining hall and main campus was. But I'd always get out of class, and I would go down to where Charlie lived and hung out with these guys because they were cool. Monday Night Football and all this other stuff. Well, little did I know, I didn't know this, but they really liked me. So they took up like a poll in the dorm and voted me to move in. Now, that wouldn't really be a big deal, but I did tell you this was Ellensburg, remember? I lost 3 roommates in less than 2 weeks, and I only met one of them. And when I got to my room, I was there first. Put up this big poster. It was the cover of my favorite album, Earth, Wind, and Fire. First guy that came in, he saw that. Takes out a cassette tape. You ever heard of these guys before? Molly Hatchet. Nope. You like the Rolling Stones? Nope. Led Zeppelin? No. Jimi Hendrix? No. So needless to say, that guy didn't stay. Well, neither did the next guy. And by the time the next guy was coming in there, I'd already taken the poster down because I was hanging out with the older people. They voted me into the upper class. You had to be a junior status or over 21 to live there. And I'm 17, they moved me in. And I don't know whether that was a good move or a bad move. All I know is that I was really happy because unlike most underclassmen, I really didn't have to struggle if I wanted to get booze. Everybody could go to the store except me. The guys that I hung out with, we used to drink a beer called Rhinelander. Rhinelander, you can imagine, with a name like Rhinelander. Bought it by the quart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Monday Night Football, the Quartz Club. We drank a quart a quarter. Back in the day when Howard Cosell was talking to Fred. Needless to say, Tuesday classes never really went really well. But those guys are still my friends today. I joined the jazz group at Central. I thought jazz was Chuck Mangione, maybe George Benson, give me the night, give me the night. I'd never really heard of Count who? Basie? Who's that? Duke of Earl? No. Oh, Ellington. Really? Okay. I learned about Dinah Washington and Aretha Franklin, Sarah Vaughan. And I was hearing music that my parents listened to. You guys think this is good? Really? Oh no. The gospel stuff. The stuff that you probably don't know. You must know this about Aretha Franklin. If you're not familiar with her music, look for the music that she's done by other artists. Because it is legend now that once Aretha covered your song, it was no longer your song. That's what I'm talking about. I never went to a black church until I was like 19. I didn't know the difference until I went home with my mom once. But I digress. In that jazz choir, we had a coach. We didn't have a teacher. We had a coach. And his name was John Mowat. And his voice was deeper than mine. And it was huge. He didn't quit. He got hired right out of high school to go on the road with Woody Herman, who is one of the notable band leaders of the jazz era. And he was out on the road for like 4 years, and then came back, got his teaching degree, taught high school, and then came back and got his doctor's degree, and actually started teaching at the college that he actually went to. And little did I know that college had a national reputation. It was us and a little school called North Texas State. And we would eyeball each other, but we really didn't interact, you know what I mean? But going to that school gave me the experience of not only immersing myself in jazz, it showed me, again, what am I supposed to be doing? Who am I? Why am I here? We performed with Joe Williams. And I tell you, Joe Williams, he looks like the Undertaker. Big, dark black man from Chicago, wide shoulders. He had on a big coat. He walked past me and it was like, "It's my wallet, man." He was hilarious. I got to perform with Dizzy Gillespie, which was amazing. Funny thing about Dizzy Gillespie, I didn't know about him early. I wanted to play trumpet in 6th grade. I was psyched. I wanted to play trumpet. But the band director at that time said, I don't know, I think your lips might be a little too big for that. I have big lips? Yeah, I'm sorry. So I took up drums, which I already knew how to play. And I was first chair all year. But my parents didn't even tell me about Dizzy, Miles, Freddie Hubbard. She didn't tell me about any of those people. I didn't know anything about them until I was at this school. And I learned that what Coach always taught us is jazz is freedom because you can do anything. You can do anything in jazz. And I took those philosophies and kind of incorporated them into my life. I mean, how many freshmen do you know that would walk around the girls' dorm and, oh, look, they're playing REO Speedwagon. All right, in the storm out. I'd look around the room and then I'd go, click, turn it off and walk out. And I would just walk out because I couldn't let them destroy their minds with that horrible music. Made a lot of friends that way, though. Made a lot of friends that way. Everything for me changed the summer of 1983. I met a guy named Bob Wynn, and I started working at this place called the Ranch Tavern. The Ranch Tavern was left over from the First World War. It was actually a hangar for biplane, but it had been a long time cleaned out. It had a huge parquet laid wood floor, a decent-sized stage, and bands from Seattle would come over there to play, and all the college kids would come out. Bob needed an opening band. Well, I knew how to play bass, taught myself. I knew how to play drums, taught myself. Knew how to play keyboards, taught myself. So he says, well, I know this guy and I know this guy. We ended up putting a band together called Boys Will Be Boys. And we were the official opening band. And I realized that I could make money playing music? Really? Well, this goes way back to like the 2nd grade when I could be famous. Because I met those people, when I ran out of money because I couldn't finish my degree that I had made myself, it was based on working at the ranch. It's like I need to be in the music business, but I ran out of money. And I couldn't finagle a way to finish. So I moved over to Seattle in '86, got a job at Tower Records, which closed at midnight, 365 days a year. So what did I do? I went downtown, because that's where all the bands were. And years, for 3 years, it was like meeting all these cats, and it was great, but I'd also shacked up with a girl and started a family, sort of. Well, she already had them, but they liked me, because I was funny, or at least they thought so. So I got another job as a delivery driver. And for 10 years, I was driving a van, delivering, some of you may be familiar with Shaper Hairspray by Sebastian. Yeah, I was working for the distributor. And I was like, wait, you want to pay me to go visit salons which are owned by women? Really? Let me think about this. Okay. And it was great. All I did was drive around between my territory was huge. I split it up in days of the week. So Mondays I would go past Seattle up to Everett and to beauty schools, and then Tuesdays I would go to the University District and then the north part of Seattle. Wednesdays I would start in the Rainier Valley, go across to West Seattle, come downtown, go to Queen Anne Hill, and end up at Queen Anne Hill. Nope. Then I go to Lake Union, Capitol Hill. So it's just downtown. Thursdays was the whole east side, everything east of Lake Washington. And Fridays was everything south of Renton, which is the bottom of Lake Washington. For years. And I was playing in a band called Life Ring, and we were a funk rock band, somewhere between Living Colour, the band, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And every Thursday, after rehearsal, we'd leave our rehearsal spot and go downtown to a place called the Vogue and hang out with our friends. You may have heard of their bands. There was Jerry and Sean from Alice in Chains, and Stoney and Jeff from Pearl Jam, Kim from Soundgarden. These are guys we just hung out and drank beer with, right? So when they got discovered, I, of course, got excited because they were my friends. But they went poof and set the world on fire, right? I stayed at it. I stayed at it, and I stayed at it. Kids got older. The 90s were hard. I mean, that's probably why I'm so stiff these days, because in the 90s I was working 2 jobs, I was playing in 2 bands, and raising 3 kids. I was busy. But as the kids got older, things got more expensive. I had to find another job. Didn't know what to do. A friend of mine that I had known from college, he was into computers. Did you know that you could record music on a computer? Oh, really? I mean, I don't have to pay $130 an hour to go to a studio? I'm in. And that's how I got into testing software. And in 2000, I got my first contract at Microsoft and ended up working 10 years at Microsoft. Now, I'm going to take a pause because, like I said, I'm telling you who I am. I reinvented myself 3 different times in 15 years. First, I was a record store clerk. Then I was a delivery driver. And now I was a software test engineer. After Microsoft, I got a job downtown. I was very happy because I didn't have to take a bus across the lake to get to work. And I had never really gotten myself financially set because I was behind the 8 ball when I moved to Seattle, right? I didn't make a lot of money because I'm raising kids and all this, so I couldn't pay back my student loans. But I got my transcripts and it's like, you have 232 credits. A bachelor's degree is 180. What's wrong with this picture? Well, it turns out that the program that I had created my degree on no longer existed. So they didn't know what to do with me. And I went back to them more than a few times, for more than a few years. But working at MCG, 2010 turned the corner of my life. And I finally figured out how to budget. I finally figured out how to save money. In 2011, I walked onto a car lot, test drove a car, and for the first time in my life, signed my name and drove away, which I'd never done before. Later on, I was asked to audition for Seattle Opera, and that led to me having a bit part in Porgy and Bess with the Seattle Opera. Done that twice. But 2012 was kind of the cool thing. My youngest son had left his mom and decided to live with me because they weren't getting along. His grades were in the toilet. But that spring, I got a phone call at about 12:30 in the morning. And it's from a guy who either texts me or he'd email me. So I thought something was wrong. Yo, what's going on? He goes, hey, you down for a session? I'm always down for a session. At that time, in 2012, I was known as Nate Dogg of the North End because rappers couldn't sing. And this is before they really shouldn't have sung. But they were amazed that I could sing exactly the same part and double my voice and then put harmonies on it. And but that's what I'd always been doing. That's how I read that my heroes did it. That's what I did. So I go with this guy named David Severance, and he takes me to this nondescript, it looked like 2 semi-truck trailers that had been put together, and they made a living space out of it. And I'm shaking hands with Ben Haggerty and Ryan Lewis. I never heard of them. Now, I'd been in bands for like 25, 30 years. They hadn't heard of me either. In what universe is that right? I didn't understand. After we got acquainted, Ryan starts playing the music. And Ben has a steno pad, and he's like, I'm gonna pop some. And he's like just saying the words, right? The first thing out of my mouth. I'm gonna pop some tags, only got $20 in my pocket. And everybody got really excited. Yeah, that's right, that's what we want. Put me in the booth, stacked it up 4 times, came back out. This is how the bridge part goes. Oh, I wear your granddad's clothes, I look incredible. Put me in the booth, stacked it up, came back out. It was about 45 minutes. And they cut me a check and I left. And nobody thought anything of it. Nobody. Not even my kid, who I had to step over to leave. Where are you going, Pop? I got a session with some cat named Mac. Oh, cool, that's what's up. He didn't know either. So a month later, Ryan calls me and we're doing a video for Thrift. You want to be in it? Okay. I got the day off from work and they picked me up and we did all the filming. And on August 29th, 2012, everything in my life changed. Because that was the day that Thrift Shop dropped. And if you remember the first time you ever heard Thrift Shop and you're smiling, you are my people. You are my people. I was at work, at my day job, testing software, hitting refresh, going, what is happening right now? Because the numbers just kept going up and up and up. I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never seen anything like it. I asked them if I could join them on a couple of dates. Perform? Sure. They said, sure. They were doing like 11 dates in the Northwest. Okay, we'll start out in Portland and then end up in Eugene and then I'll come home. That's great. It's great. I mean, it didn't freak me out too much that every appearance on his calendar from August of 2012 to November of 2013, all sold out. All of them. Everywhere. In the world. The world. But I was just going to get my little slice and I'd be cool. By the time, about 4 shows in, Ben pulls me aside after and he says, I really like what you're doing. We want you to join the tour. Well, I'd never been on the road before. I didn't know what the hell that meant. What does that mean? I wasn't going to ask him because then he'd know I didn't know. And we couldn't have that now, could we? A couple of days later, well, let's see, he told me that next day. I called my boss, who was not in the office, left him a message. I need you to call me back right away. I have this opportunity and I need to extend my time off. A couple of days later, we're leaving Bend, Oregon over to Eugene, and I'm supposed to come home. But the next date on the calendar was at the Fillmore in San Francisco. Now, for me, that was like visiting Mecca because I had grown up listening to concerts on Saturday nights on AM radio from the Fillmore. So I stuck around, and I just rode down there with them. And they gave us a tour of the place, and everyone you can possibly think of from classic rock has a poster, because they have posters for everyone who's played there. Mamas and the Papas, Cal Sills, Cream, I know who they are. Big Brother and the Holding Company, Stevie Wonder, just name somebody who's a rock legend. They're in there. And I was going to do a sold-out show there? After seeing all those posters, it's time for me to go on stage and make sure the mics work and stuff, but I'm standing in the middle of the dance floor in this place that I never imagined I would ever be in. And at that moment, all of this stuff became real. And I broke down into tears and cried. Because I was 51 years old. Started singing when I was 6. Had been told all my life I was going to be famous. And I was on my way. It just dawned on me. I'm not, you probably figured this out, I'm not incredibly bright, but that's what happened. And in the 2.5 years that I toured on that one song, I know that guy, 2.5 years, every single dream that I ever had came true. Every single one of them. If I had more time, I'd tell you about the 10 years after, because that's way more interesting to me. But I learned a lot. Every single show that we went to, I would talk to the kids. The kids had been waiting there from crack of dawn. Shows didn't start until 7:30, 7. They'd been out there since like 6 in the morning. And I'm like, I'd never seen anything like that before. So I'd go out and say, hi, how's it going? And some of them knew who I was, and some of them didn't. Most of them didn't, which was great. I could walk 10 feet behind Macklemore in an airport, and they would all be freaking out about him, and I'd be 10 feet back going, I'm so glad I'm not him. Must suck to be the Macklemore. Ha ha. Yeah, every single dream. Television, travel. I never had a passport until this happened. I'd never been anywhere. The first time we went to Paris, I'm standing out on the first day of 3 sold-out shows, talking to this girl. And she says, well, I'm talking to all these kids. I'd been out there for hours. And one of the girls that was there goes, do you believe in unicorns? And at the time, Thrift Shop was #1 in like 17 countries, had sold almost 700,000 copies. The video was still on fire. I'm 51 years old, and there is no one in the industry who looks like me, who's as old as me, and sounds like me. I thought of all this in a split second. I looked at her and I go, I guess I have to. I am one. I still haven't found anyone who got their shot at 51 years old and went to the top of the mountain. 2 Grammys, sold out shows all over the world on one song. But, like a trip to Disneyland, all things came to an end. A unicorn is a mythical, usually white animal, generally depicted with the body and head of a horse, long flowing mane, a tail, and a single, often spiraled horn in the middle of their forehead. I get mistaken for them all the time, especially that long flowing hair part. But it's the second one. Something unusual, rare, unique. Now, just a second ago, I told you there was no one else out there who looked like me, sounded like me, which became a problem because that meant that the business had never really developed anyone like that before. So the next 10 years, I spent with this great resume item. Everybody knows, almost everybody knows that song. Almost. But I couldn't figure out if so many people knew the song, and if it was so good, why wasn't I having more opportunities? I have a Grammy and what they call a Diamond Award, which signifies 10,000 units sold. 90%, better than 98% of all the musicians on the planet don't have either one. In 2015, when they gave us the Diamond, they said there's only 2 hip-hop acts that have ever gotten this. You and Eminem. Yeah, I kind of went, globe. What does that mean? I don't know what it means. I had to walk past the statues every day. I don't know what it means. I still don't know what it means. But I had to learn. I had to learn, and I learned through figuring out what a unicorn really is. And I picked these pictures because, they look different, but they're all the same. Kind of like humans. See what I did there? See what I did there? So, what does my story have to do with you? Well, I figured out that you can be your own unicorn. Really, you can. We all suffer from something called the human condition. And that human condition is predicated on choice. The solution and the problem to everything that happens in our life is due to choice. You don't make any moves. You don't do anything without making a choice. Which shoes you're going to wear? How are you going to do your hair today? Blouse or jumpsuit? What are you going to do? Kids now, it's great because I can go, what color is that of your hair? And then they tell me, and I go, so you chose that? And they went, yeah. And I was like, who knew you had that kind of power? Oh, that's right, I did. And then they go, oh, wow, I guess I do. There's only one species of human being on the planet. Lots of birds, crap ton of bugs. Humans, one. Now, the hard thing to really get your mind around is that everyone is doing exactly the same thing at the same time, but slightly differently. You ever notice when you go grocery shopping, when you walk in and get your cart, there's nobody in line, but as soon as you think you're going to leave, everybody's like lined up ready to go. Like they read your mind. Oh, he or she is leaving, I'm going to go stand in front of them. Humans are an insanely predictable animal. Humans are it's just very strange how affected I was seeing kids in Portugal or Britain or New Guinea or Australia, Tasmania, Boston, Phoenix. They were all the same. All of them. They all had the same worries. What am I going to do with my life? I hate my parents. So it really freaked him out when I look at him and go, you know more than you think you do. No, I don't. Oh, what grade are you in? I'm in 11th grade. Know how to tie your shoes? Yeah. Know how to button up a coat? Yeah. Do you think about those things? No. Well, then I break it down. This is the part that they really love. You do realize that anything that has a beginning and an end is a process. If it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, it is a process. Learned that from The Matrix. I learned a lot from The Matrix. But kids, they don't notice those kind of things. They don't look at those kind of things. And when you put it in a perspective that is in their wheelhouse and they get it, the light bulb can be blinding. Blinding. There was a girl in Warsaw she was poor, she couldn't go to the show. And so I took her into the auditorium for sound check. And she's like starting to cry, and I'm going, what's wrong? She goes, I am just so happy right now because I get to see this, and it makes me sad though, because we don't have thrift shops in my town. I said, well, why don't you start one? I hadn't thought of that. And for all I know, she went and got her old clothes and her parents' old clothes and opened up a thrift shop. For all I know. I don't. But I do know that all these encounters helped me figure out the similarities between us are they outnumber all those things that make us different, right? But it's comparison. That's the enemy. Always has been. Still is for me. I'm not cured of any of this stuff. Like I said, I talk about the one thing that I know about. Me. I do a lot of work on myself, and I'm really, really honest with myself. Which means I'm kind of despondent most of the time. But the payoff is great, because I learn things. And then I watch other people. And the things that I learn, I see them in other people. That's really weird. Really strange. Very strange. But like I said, humans are incredibly predictable. Insanely. So what does that have to do with you? Well, that comparison game that you play, and don't think that you play, but you play because you want to look a certain way, you want to wear certain things, you want to go certain places, you want to be or appear as a certain person. Well, all that's based on comparison because you're looking at everybody else, right? And you're forgetting the most important person, which is you. There's an inner you and there's an outer you. Inner you thinks about a lot of things. The outer you is the one who does things. And then they kind of flip, because after you've done something, then you're, what the hell is going on? How did that happen? And then you figure out where you screwed up, and hopefully you learn and you do it again and you do it successfully, right? That's the way it's supposed to work. I'll come back to that too. I wrote a song in 2015 or in 2012 called Wander. Because at the time I didn't feel that I had any choices of what I was doing, where I was going to go, how I was going to get there. It's like I'd been spinning my wheels for forever. And I figured out finally that I choose the how, the why, the when, and where I do anything. Because I have that power.
Pick up my feet and hit the ground. Got to swim or else I drown. Still indecision holds me back from going farther. Forward, always forward moving. Taking chances, always choosing. The how, the why, the when, and where I wonder.
It's an amazing song. I always like old songs because they remind me of what I used to be like. And things I didn't know. Now, I'm in the business of educating kids and non-kids alike. that you have a superpower. Superpower. And it's called choice. And just like Spider-Man, you know what Spider-Man says? With great power comes great responsibility. You can choose anything that you want if and only if you're willing to accept the consequences. Make sense? Make sense? That time that you went out and you decided you were going to have 4 more shots of tequila, how'd that go? But you chose to do that. Oh, or that time that you thought that San Francisco was going to win the Super Bowl? That was you. You don't realize it. You make more choices in 5 minutes than you could possibly believe. You ever broken down and segmented how you brush your teeth? I have. It's a process. I needed to know, how does that work? Because some people, they'll put the toothpaste on, but some people will get the brush wet, and then they'll put the toothpaste on. And some people start on one side, or they'll start at the bottom. It's all choice. All of it. The big thing now is to have those stylish framed glasses, and they're all the same. Different colors, but they're all the same shape. Why do you suppose that is? People want to look, hey, that looks nice on them. It's going to look great on me, right? Maybe not. Who's to say? You are. I tell kids now, because I primarily talk to like 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. And when they figure out that they actually have power, they kind of don't know what to do. Because society has convinced them that they don't know anything. They go to school every day, they take the tests, but you can ask them, when did Columbus come to America? I don't know. Who's Copernicus? I don't know. Ever heard of William Shakespeare? Is he from Boston? Right? But if you ask them how to get to the 3rd level of Diablo 2, oh, you just got to do this, this, and this. This is what I learned from my youngest kid. He's a gamer. One day I asked him, you have to be responsible, keep your health up, you have to eat, navigate, and make sure that you don't run out of ammunition with your weapons, and pick up new weapons. You realize that you're living because I can substitute each one of those things for stuff that you do in the real world. Changed his whole perspective. And it's that word, perspective, that goes along with your superpower. People get it mixed up with perception, which is what you see. Perspective is how you see it. Here's the thought experiment for you. Take an egg. Doesn't matter if it's boiled or not. Take an egg, put it on the table, and ask 3 strangers, what's that? Well, it's an egg. Yeah, but what else do you see? And one person will say, oh, I could make an omelet with that. Another person will say, oh, I could make a cake with that. And another person could say, well, when's the little chick going to be born? But it's just an egg. What does that mean? It means that your experience, though similar to all humans, is specific to you. I had an experience that I'm still looking for somebody who had that experience, right? to ask them, because I feel like I'm just wandering in the woods. But I'm paying attention and figured out some things because it's about the similarities. I'm not that much different than anyone else, whether they're in their 50s, 40s, 30s, or 20s. Because now, at 62 years old, after being laid off for a year from tech, I've had a lot of thinking to do. But it led me here. It led me here with you because I figured out how you can be a unicorn. I already know I'm one. There's no one like me. Never gonna be another one like me. But the same thing goes for you. You're the only one. You're the only one that got made. There are billions of people on this planet, and you're the only one of you there is. And it doesn't matter when you figure that out. It only matters that you figure it out. And if you're sitting at home and your dream hasn't come true, you're looking forward to, I'm gonna be whatever it is. Oh, I'm too old. Nobody will like it. Screw them. What about you? What about you? You don't get a say? Every day, I get up and walk past those bloody awards trying to figure out, what am I going to do today? Well, I go back and do all the things that I was doing before. I practice and work on software things and watch MSNBC way too much. Just like before. You think lightning could strike in the same place twice? I don't know. And because I don't know, I have to have faith that it could, not that it will. Man, nothing is worse in this world than an unmet expectation. You were supposed to be here 5 minutes ago. Where have you been? Why are you out so late, young man? You were supposed to be home when the street lights came on. Old folk know what that means. But it's true. This power that we all have, it still works. It's just different things, right? Now it's what? Versace, Chanel, Buick, Jaguar, Mercedes, BMW, Toyota. All choices. And every time you look into one of those cars and you look at those people and they're sitting at that light and you look at them, I wonder what they're doing. They're doing exactly what you're doing. Living life. Everybody just does it a little different. How do you improve your human condition? You're going to love this. So simple. Caveman could do it. Ask questions. Just because I've been to Disneyland doesn't mean that your experience at Disneyland was the same. There's a theme park outside of Coeur d'Alene called Silverwood. I love that place. 2 different roller coasters. Tremors. Brr. Lots of people go there, but no one has the same experience. Lots of people have been to a pro football game, pro basketball game, pro baseball game. No one has the same experience. There are similarities. You go to a baseball game, get a hot dog, beer, right on. What if you don't drink beer? Or pop, soda? What then? Oh, yeah, $4.50 bottle of water. Yeah, it's all about the choice. What are you going to do? I mean, none of us tells the future, but still, that is a burning question for everyone. What are you gonna do? For me, the thing that works, that keeps me from like going crazy, is I'm not sure yet. Because I am not. You do realize that people, when they say, you must try to live in the present, it's impossible. Because as soon as you recognize what moment you're in, you're referring to it, which means it's already passed. So really, you can't live in any moment, because by the time you realize it is gone, and you're on to another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. 2 hours from now, does everyone know exactly what they're going to be doing 2 hours from now? Anyone? Anyone? You have guess, but do you know? No. If you think you know, then I have a question for you, and that's, why haven't you like made your fortune in Vegas? Because you can tell the future. Just saying. Nobody knows. And having an idea or a possibility is not the same as knowing. It's not the same as knowing. No one knows. No one. So, know who you are and what you want. Loaded statement. From the time I can remember, I knew that I wanted to be a singer. I've always wanted to be a singer. Hell, I'm still a singer. It's the only thing that it's been with me like the nose on my face. But there are some who really don't know. They don't know. And that's legit. I mean, that's cool. You could not, it's okay not to know. Remember when you didn't know what 5 times 5 was? But do you remember what it felt like when you explained how you figured out what 5 times 5 was to someone and they got it? You remember that feeling? Ladies and gentlemen, that feeling is the key to life. That is what we all aspire to. I haven't met a soul who doesn't like that feeling. So why not try to, not so much manufacture it, but just pay attention to it? Why? Why not? Anticipate setbacks. I love the meme that says what people think success looks like, and it has from the bottom and it goes whoop to the top. And then in the next frame it says what success really looks like, and it goes all over the place. Because I don't know about you, but I'm the second one. The second one. I kind of try really hard not to anticipate too much, because then everything is a surprise. Finding this place, it was a surprise. I've lived in Washington a long time, never knew it was here. See? Just got to pay attention. You'd be surprised what you learn. 50 years, I had setbacks. 50 years, 50. That's, for the not so smart, that's a hell of a long time. But when you want something, how long will you wait? Hell, you'll come back to a store when it's sold out of something you want. Even make them make out a slip so that you get it for the same price. Right? Rain check. It's a thing. Thanks, John. So, anticipate. Not predict, but anticipate. That's a hard one for me to tell you what it's like. The best way I can probably do it is you get a glass out of a cupboard and you're going to put a liquid in it. You anticipate where to hold whatever. so that the liquid goes into the receptacle. Now you don't know what's going to be in there. Dog could come along and nudge you, or a kid, or, earthquake. Something could happen. You don't know, but you anticipate what a thing's supposed to be like. But don't expect. I said it before, I'll say it again. There is nothing worse than an unmet expectation. Don't believe me? She told me she loved me. You said I was going to be rich. Now, here's a good one. A little bit of mirror work. Rehearse your responses when you're angry and when you're kind. Rehearse them both. I can't tell you when you're going to use either one of them. So you should get good at both of them, right? Because you never know when somebody's going to tick you off. But you don't want to, my dad would say, you don't want to burn a bridge you might need to escape over later. That person that you've totally treated like a piece of gum on the bottom of your shoe just so happens to be the one person you needed to meet that could get you closer to whatever your goal was. Or they've been there before and can tell you how to do it. You don't know. You don't. So you got to practice these things. It's really hard to practice being pissed off at yourself in the mirror. It really is. It's hard. I'm going to warn you about that now. But the results are insanely consistent. Because as soon as you start getting pissed off, you see yourself in the mirror, and whoever you're standing in front of is wondering, why the hell are they smiling? I thought they were mad. Because you remember, you're rehearsing. Just saying. Find your people. Who are your people? Who's your person? What are they like? Most of you already know this stuff, right? It just goes by another name, like know your audience or find your groove, your niche or whatever, right? It's not only that. Who do you hang out with when when you're just chilling? Who do you go to church with? Who do you avoid church with? Who would you go on a cruise with to Alaska? Find your people. Find them and treat them like flowers in a garden. Keep the weeds away, water them every once in a while. Take care of them, because you never know when they're going to need to be there to take care of you. My mom said, first you have to, if you want to have good friends, first you have to be a good friend. And that's true. Well, at least for me, it's been my experience. I'm nice to everybody, to the point where, other people who are close to me are like, dude, are you out of your mind? Probably. So what? So other than those four things, consider the things below. Consider this. Stay calm. I am the one person that you've ever seen who will never, ever, ever get burned up in a building. Okay? I'll be outside holding the door so that everybody can get out. Okay? While on tour, I learned the most important lesson in life. They tell you at every safety thing, after they explain how to do the seatbelt. The bag won't inflate, even though oxygen will be flowing. And then they say, put on your own mask before assisting others. Now, I took that one apart, flying from New Zealand to Australia, which is not very long, because I couldn't figure out, why am I seeing that again? And I looked around at all the other passengers on the plane, and I imagined what would happen if I didn't put my oxygen mask on and something happened, smoke or whatever. Well, they stood less chance of passing out. Oh. So do you suppose that if you take care of yourself, you're on a team of 5 people and 4 people get sick, can't come to work, and you're that one person? Then what happens? We think that we have to take care of other people, but actually, like most things, it's a choice. But if you don't choose yourself first, then you won't be available for anybody else. You can't transmit something that you don't have. It's impossible. You can imagine, but there's nothing like the power of a live demonstration now, is there? Actively listen, which means don't listen to respond. The hell are they talking about? And I will tell you, my new favorite thing now is responding to people on TikTok. Because the responses don't really line up all the time correctly, so you don't know who exactly you're replying to. You could be replying to the person who started that little part of the thread, or you could be replying to the person who's just above you. But a lot of people on TikTok don't actively listen, read. It's very hilarious. When the news broadcast starts out with, so-and-so's people believed him when he told them he was the richest man in the world. That's what he told them, and they believed him. So when I start out my thing, haha, the richest man in the world, and the first comment is, he never said that. Really? Okay. All right. And I just wrote back, I said, your experience with the English language is a bit different than mine. Let it go. Pause and reflect. When's the last time you cut your finger in the kitchen or anywhere? What were you doing right before you cut your finger? Do you remember? Have you been in a traffic accident lately? What were you doing right before that accident happened? You ever step off a curb thinking there's another step there? And what were you doing right before that happened? There are many, many answers that answer themselves. And that's what that last one is. Pay attention. I learn a lot about a kid when I ask him, have you seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off? And they say, no. And I say, why not? I don't know, I think it's stupid. Well, it might be, but it has a life lesson in it. What is that lesson? Life moves pretty fast. If you're not paying attention, you might miss it. Maybe it's that person in front of you buying a lotto ticket who's going to win, because you're not going to. Ever thought about it that way? I'm just saying. I know, some of these are just like insanely funny, but it's true. My dad told me, son, never be so broke you can't pay attention. Because I learned a lot from just watching people. That's how I learned how not to get beat up at school all the time. I could watch people and wouldn't open my mouth. Yeah, never let your mouth write a check that your body can't cash. Old but true saying. Old but true saying. Now this is where usually I open it up and I say, anybody have a question about anything? Because I always have an answer. Always.
Let's give Wands a round of applause.
Damn, girls, I miss Buddy Love. Barbecue at King Park in memory of the low hitting switches.
This is one of Wands' original songs with 3.5 million views or plays. Let's see if we got questions. In-person audience, grab a mic. Virtual, just unmute. And let's see what you got for the Wands. Well, Wands, this is John. You know, this is what really I want to talk about, you got the dream of being famous. And I'm just curious now, I think you're in the stage of choosing the dream after the dream. Right? So I'm curious, like, what has been some of the process or things that's happened in this last search?
So I believe I said that I went back to doing what I was doing before. There's a singer named Sleepy Brown. Sleepy Brown is the guy who sings, I like the way you move, ba-da-ba, I like the way you move. Right? He had that one song, and then where'd he go? Nobody knows. I said, I do not want to be like him. I don't want to be on one song and then just disappear. Well, you know what? 3 years later well, no, longer than that, 6 years later, Big Boy comes to town, and who's on stage with him? Sleepy Brown. Pretty much on every single song. What did I learn? Things are not always as they appear, right? What am I doing? I'm doing lots of things because I don't know. I'm like a duck. Looks all calm on top, but underneath, I'm doing things.
Lots of things.
Lots of things. Lots of things. Even my partner is like, why are you doing this today? And I told her why, and she's like, well, are they paying you? And I'm like, what, am I a hooker? She didn't like that answer at all. Any other questions? Anything?
All right, let's see. I think we got the mic. Hold on one second.
Hold on.
And now go.
All right, there we go. Michael, so we got a deep dive, thank you, on you. What about your values and your goals? What does that look like? Because that's something, a framework you'll see. What are your values? What are your goals?
Values are pretty simple. The one thing that I close pretty much any conversation with kids with, if you do something that makes you happy, and especially if it makes somebody else happy, never, ever, ever stop doing it, because you just never know where it could take you. That's my story. Yours will be similar, if not the same. But that also, in order to be able to do that, you have to be honest, not only with yourself. Well, you better be honest with yourself first, but you got to be honest with other people. If your butt looks big in them jeans, don't ask me that question. Because I'm going to tell you. Followed by, well, I like big butts. I cannot lie.
Okay, let's see. Nicole did put in the chat, love your shirt. Is that a thrift store score?
Not yet.
Oh.
Ooh. Love me some thrift store scores, though.
We do got a question from Deborah Allen. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi, I love your stories and your storytelling, and I like when you work with kids, and I want to work with kids as well. And I just really come alive when I talk to kids, and I'm funny, and I just really love, they keep me alive, and I just really like being with them. But I have a hard time getting coaching clients that are kids. So I'm not really sure what do you suggest for working with kids?
So you're trying to get kids as clients.
Right. Or I want to be in a group where there's kids and I can work with kids. And it just seems like I have the hardest time. I really don't want to volunteer. I want to get paid because I've done a lot of volunteering with kids, but I really want to be somewhere where they're able to use me as a coach.
You and I are walking a parallel path right now.
Yes.
Because I want the same thing. And so far in the last 4 months, I've gone to the Parks and Rec for my town, Shoreline, because I know they have a rec center. I have a kid that basically grew up there. So I know that they have programs there, but like you said, they want you to volunteer. Mm-hmm. I've now gone to the senior center, and I'm talking with another guy to see how I can better pair seniors with kids that play guitar.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
because they have that common interest, right?
yes.
So the thing with kids is that sometimes it's really hard to figure out what they're about.
Oh, I don't have any problem with that. Yeah,
Oh, really?
it's just getting the parents or teachers to let me work with them.
Huh. What do the kids say after?
Oh, but I mean, I have a program that I work with them on, and
Yeah.
I help them sort of find out that they're unique and help them find their gifts and talents and help them come up with some lifetime goals. And we have 6 visits and it's great, but it's just, I don't know how to sell it to the parents pretty much.
I would approach it like this. When you were that age, did you know what you wanted to do?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And if you did, why?
Oh,
And if you didn't, why?
okay.
A question never killed anybody, and none of us are mind readers, right?
Right.
So, if there's this is one of the setbacks that I was talking about. Anticipate setbacks. Not every parent is going to be receptive, right? Who knows? I mean, I just saw a news story today where a state senator was reading a story on the state senate floor about rape and included one of his work people in the story. Who told him that was a good idea? Not it. Not it. Not it.
Deborah, I got a follow-up to that too. I recently had somebody ask for a coach for a student, and here's one of the target audiences I believe that's out there now. Graduates of college who did not get a job.
Oh,
And especially if they are 1 to 4 years out of college and still haven't gotten a job, you can easily, I think, get a coaching part and ask for a bonus when they get a job.
okay, okay.
Finder's fee.
So meanwhile, back, I do believe Mel also would like to chime in, unless Deborah, you have any other comments or questions for Juan?
No, I'm good.
Hi,
All right,
Mel.
let's turn to Mel.
Hey, hey, hey. Always a pleasure, my friend. You talked about the young woman who was talking about thrift stores not in her town. Where were you when that conversation happened?
Warsaw, Poland.
Okay. We have a friend in Poland. It would be really cool to find out if there's new thrift stores in town.
I wish I could remember her name because it was Polish. And so it was.
Yeah, yes.
It's like,
Very difficult.
You ever tried to
it's a
read a
little
road sign in Sweden, Norway, Finland? Yeah, good luck. Just doesn't happen.
Yeah, the idea that that song had such a profound cultural impact that it changed the nature of buying behaviors.
Well,
More people
everywhere else but
buy
here.
at thrift stores than,
I
yeah.
mean, you do realize that people here were pissed. I can't find anything at the thrift shop anymore now that you've told them about it. I got a lot of enemies.
Frenemies.
I'm like, sorry, ask Edison. Good ideas don't stay in a vacuum, do they?
Well, Juan, thank you so much. It's a pleasure seeing you. Look forward to the next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. All right, we had any in-person people? I think we're right here. Yes.
I was just going to reference back to you said, so that was the up to 2012 part of my story when my song came out, and you found after 2012 to be a lot more interesting. Can't wait to share that. So have you written that? Are you speaking on it?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's heavy. There's a lot of depression. I've been sober almost 25 years. I've been fighting depression for over 20 years. And from 2015 to 2018, it wasn't good. It wasn't pretty. I mean, I wasn't going to commit suicide, but I put a chair outside of the door that I would have to walk through in the building, on the block, in the city where I'd have to go. I know exactly where it is.
I'm, pop some tags guy.
I sit down there and remember, I've got kids, I've got grandkids, I've got weather like we had the last 2 days here in Seattle where it's warm and sunny. I have a motorcycle.
But don't you think that's an important message? to start sharing and to get out there? Like, it just seems like
Didn't you
we're
just-
losing a lot of people right now.
Didn't you
know?
just ask me if I started working on it yet?
Did you say yes?
No. I
Do you
said,
see why I'm
I
confused?
said not yet.
Okay.
I know. There's always more to do. There's always more to do. I had to get past, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Kids love this too. You do realize you had to go through that to get to this. And you're going to have to go through this
Yeah.
to get to that, whatever that is.
I'm there, right where you're talking about.
Right? So are you there yet?
Between this and that and there.
Are
I'm
you
also
there yet?
there.
See, and that's the ironic thing about life, right? Two things that are always true. You're always going to have to make a choice, and nobody ever leaves the house without knowing where the hell they're going to go. Ever. They say they don't know, but they know. You know where the store is. How are you going to get milk? Oh, I'm going to go this way. Well, if the road's under construction, what do? You find another way, right? All of that stuff is, that's how life works. As a friend of mine tells me, he says, life is what happens while you're busy making decisions. And I'm a big proponent of choice. You always have a choice, especially when you think you don't have any choices. That's when you have the biggest choice. Right? Tug of war. How do I get my kid to stop fighting? Tug of war. Everybody knows how to play tug of war, right? How do you not get yourself in a position when you're in a tug of war? Don't pick up the rope. It seems simple, but ask anyone who's been convicted of road rage whether it is or not. It's not easy. Heat of the moment it's a thing. And even I'm still working on that. I'm still, I'm always working. But I watch other people. So I really don't have to do anything. Because if you watch somebody long enough, they'll give you all the answers you're looking for. For me, that's the way it's always been. I used to sit at the mall and just watch people, and my friend and I would predict which store they were going into and what they'd come out with. Just because people are not the same. Anyone else?
Mel's got one more follow-up question.
Go for it.
She says, hey, Wands, how do you get your gigs with high school or college students? How do you get those speaking or whatever engagements with that audience?
I'll let you know. Last night I went to on a suggestion, I went to a school board meeting. And after the school board meeting was over, because it was one of the most boring affairs ever, but I told them what I was about and what I was looking for, and they said, did you know that there's a music concert at X high school? Which I did not know. Well, if there's going to be a concert, that means there's going to be a teacher. If there's a teacher, there's someone I need to talk to. Why? We have something in common. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, I'm also trying to get a hold of superintendents to figure out, where do I go? I've already sent letters to different groups and organizations, student organizations at Central, at my old college. Not gotten a reply. And I'm deciding whether I want to Andy Dufresne them or not. If you know Shawshank Redemption, you know what that means. Andy Dufresne wrote letters incessantly, and to shut him up, they gave him what he wanted, right? I don't know if I want to Andy Dufresne anybody.
So I have one more idea, just because my niece went through it, is maybe the courts, children get court advocates during divorce proceedings. Mm-hmm. So that might be one way to reach out to kids, since the question keeps showing up in our chats. Have you tried that?
Something tells me that if it has anything to do with the courts, there is going to be some kind of accreditation involved, especially when it comes to somebody else's kids.
Well, yes, but if it just becomes a referral for after this mess, gets moving, the courts assign the advocates, right, or the mediator, but then they still probably need some extended support afterwards. I don't know.
I'm not sure if I understand what you mean. If you're talking about an advocate, if you're talking about an advocate for the kids, yeah, there's qualifications for that.
Right. I'm saying the advocate has their job, but then once that court decision falls down, mm-hmm. they're usually in a terrible place. So when it's time to recover the kid after this terrible divorce and all the mm-hmm. things settled, mm-hmm. then maybe it'd be a referral from the advocate.
Maybe.
I'm only asking.
That is an idea, but that's an idea.
Too convoluted.
No, it's just, I anticipate
Problems, yeah.
a few problems. And most of them have to do with the responsibility of, this is somebody else's child. And when you're dealing with somebody else's child, you don't have a lot of control. Unless you're the child. I had a kid I've been mentoring since he was 11. He's 17 3/4 now. And, his mom she wasn't sure that she could raise him. I met them at a homeless shelter for sufferers of domestic violence.
Yeah.
And all I told her is like, character, that's what you want to do. You want to develop this kid's character. How do you do that? Well, you don't tell him anything. You ask him what's right and what's wrong. Question never killed anybody. But I know tons of people who said, I tell my kids this, they never listen. Of course not. But if you ask them how to figure out something, and you're legit about it, like honestly curious, they'll explain it to you.
Yeah.
But the first thing they'll ask is why. And the answer to that question is, I've been doing it one way. I think I just need to know another way to do it. So tell me how you do it. Once you put them in the position of having instruction, it changes how they approach communication. It also changes how they approach problem solving, which is the, above all, chief task of a parent, is to teach their kids how to solve problems. That's all it is. But they never come at it from the choice perspective. But I had to learn that with my 2 teenagers to know it works. Anything else?
All right, Wands, I think here to close us out, I got a few rounds of speed questions. The first one, though, is a little bit easy. Would you ever want to create a thrift shop with the theme Wands' Wonders?
No.
Shot through the heart.
No.
Okay. Here come my questions here. Hold on a sec, I gotta find my star. Okay.
Not enough crackers in the world for that cheese.
Here we go. Speed questions. Who is your biggest musical influence?
Quincy Jones.
Ooh, easy one. Favorite movie?
Depends. I have 5 right now. Shawshank Redemption, the original Star Wars.
Yes.
The second Matrix.
Yes.
I
still like the first
I
better.
always watch.
But that's me.
Black Panther.
Ooh.
And Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, geez. That's a big one. Outstanding. Thank you. Best book.
Oh, well, I left out the part in elementary school where I was dyslexic before they told me I was dyslexic. I don't read very much. I do audio books.
Okay.
And I can honestly recommend
Yes.
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. I can also recommend, what's it called?
Jeopardy music.
The Confidence Gap.
Ooh. Oh, I haven't read that one.
It's
or heard
quite good.
that. Okay.
The takeaway from that, which is right up my alley, you have to do something courageous before you can feel courage.
Ooh.
It took me a long time to figure that one out, but it's true. For me, anyway.
Favorite food?
Just had it yesterday. Quarter pounder with cheese, large fries, and a large high C orange.
I feel like I've brought you one of those. Okay, here we go. Next question. Best radio station?
Satellite or terrestrial?
Doesn't matter.
I'm right now really hooked on Sirius FM's First Wave, channel 33, I think, or 31, 33, something like that. I'm hearing all the hits from college. Earth below. Earth below.
That's 80s all the way.
Oh yeah, it's all 80s all the time. It's great.
Okay, Mel said she knows the superintendent at Auburn School District and she's going to connect you.
Famous last words.
That's right. Julie, did you have a question before my next one?
If he's willing to fill the room with the thrift shop, like, because that voice, I'd love to feel it in person.
Okay, we'll close with that. All right, here we go. Best moment in life, Wands.
Watching my youngest son walk down the aisle to get his diploma after being told for 4 months that he wasn't going to, because when he came to live with me, he had a 1.3 grade point average. And after living with me, he had a 3.5 grade point average and was getting his diploma.
That's awesome.
That's when I figured out that I can do things, because his mom had totally convinced him and myself that I couldn't.
Well, you can do things, because I'm going to ask you best live thrift shop performance.
Now that's hard.
Uh-huh.
That's really hard.
That's why I'm the pro in the room.
It's a small room, you can fill it.
I have 3 places to choose from.
Okay.
Dublin, the first night, because we played there 3 times, or I've played there 3 times. Dublin, Bayonne, France, or the 3rd night of 3 nights in a row at the Key, or Climate Pledge, whichever. Those are my top 3. Bayonne was it was magical. We were in the south of France performing in a Spanish bull ring on the 4th of July. The convergence was incredible. And then 2 days later, we were in Beirut, which was insane. I knew it was going to be weird when I walked out of the airport, and the first thing I saw was a big billboard, and it said, Kentucky Fried Chicken. In Beirut. What the absolute F is that?
Franchise.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Best Grammy moment.
Best Grammy moment, bar none. We're on a commercial break, and I've spotted Ed Sheeran on the other side of the middle section and got up from my seat to walk around to say hi, because he had intercepted the tour earlier, and so we had met. And when I walked up to him, and I'm like, hey, and he goes, hey, Wands, it's great. And we hug, and everything's cool, and right? And then he goes, Wands, have you met Taylor? It's Taylor Swift.
Tay-Tay.
And I said, hi, I'm Wands. She goes, I know, I've read about you.
Wow.
Yeah, that was,
Wow.
what? Where's that moment now when I need it, right?
On television. Donna asks, who was the idol you met that was most meaningful? Idol.
Dizzy Gillespie.
Ooh, because?
He taught me the phrase, ain't nothing but a thing on a chicken string. No, ain't nothing but a thing, a wing on a chicken string. What the hell does that mean? But I was worried about something. And basically what it means is, why? Why are you worried? And it took me a while to figure it out, but things are going to happen in all our lives. Something's going to happen. It always does, right? The trick is, can you remember the last time it happened? Can you remember the last time you were sad? The last time that you were angry? The last time that you were hurt? How about the first time? Because, the past is useful because that's where all the lessons are. In the program, they taught me, I shall not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. And basically, humans learn by making mistakes. That's how we learn. That's how we've learned everything, by getting it wrong. But you get to a certain age and you're worried about other people seeing you get it wrong. And that becomes a problem in here with yourself. 2 words, which is different from yourself, which is what everybody sees. But you got to make friends with yourself. 2 words. Because there's no place that's more dangerous than the 4 inches between your ears. It'll tell you anything. It will tell you anything, especially when it's not true. That's my experience.
Last 2 questions.
Go for it.
Assessment of the Seahawks now.
Too early.
Probably the right answer. Okay, great. Last question. What brings the Wands joy?
The thing that brings me the most joy is when someone else smiles. Because there's just not enough of that. I love it when other people smile. That's why I joke around so much. If I'm not joking with you, if I'm not giving you crap, that pretty much means I don't like you, because I don't care whether you smile or not. But other than making a baby laugh, just humans in general, because everybody's life is hard. Everybody's life is challenging. Everyone is going through something or has either come out of something or is about to go through something. Not too much different from you. If it's happening to you, why couldn't it happen to anyone? When you start thinking about it that way, your perspective changes. It's not what you see, it's how you see it. That's what's important. Remember the egg? How do you see it, right? And do you have the ability to see a similar situation from someone else's perspective? If you don't, you need to ask them more questions so you can understand. All of us want to be understood. All of us want to be understood. Nobody wants to change anybody else's mind, but nobody likes to be ignored. Everybody wants to be understood.
Thank you so much, Juan. So if you can help us make us a little smile, do you mind? We're going to give you applause. And may we play Thrift Shop to close today?
Who's going to play it?
Here we go. I'm going to play it. Here we go. Everyone give the Wands a huge round of applause. The Wands. Special performance just for you.
I never come on stage until the beat drops, you know.
Adam can get on. Come on, Adam. There you go. Yeah! Oh, yeah!
Here we go. I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is something awesome.
Nah, walk into the club like, what up? I got a big cock. I'm just pumped. I bought some shit from a thrift shop. Ice on the fringe is so damn frosty. The people like, damn, that's a cold ass honky. Rolling in hella deep, headed to the mezzanine. Dressed in all pink, except my gator shoes. Those are green, draped in a leopard mink. Girl standing next to me. Probably should have washed this. Smells like R. Kelly sheets. But shit, it was 99 cents. Okay, copping it, washing it. About to go and get some compliments. Passing up on those moccasins. Someone else has been walking in. Bummy and grungy fucking man. I am stunting and flossing and saving my money. And I'm hella happy that's a bargain, bitch. I'ma take your grandpa style. I'ma take your grandpa style. No, for real. Ask your grandpa, can I have his hand-me-down? Thank you. Velour jumpsuit and some house slippers. Dookie brown leather jacket that I found. Dig it. They had a broken keyboard. I bought a broken keyboard. I bought a ski blanket. Then I bought a kneeboard. Hello, my ace man, my mellow. John Wayne ain't got nothing on my fringe game. Hell no. I can take some pro wings, make them cool, sell those. The sneakerheads will be like, he got the Velcro.
I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is fucking awesome. I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is something awesome.
What she know about rocking the wolf on your noggin? What she knowin' about wearing a fur fox skin? I'm digging, I'm searching right through that luggage. One man's trash, that's another man's come up. Thank your granddad for donating that plaid button up shirt. Cause right now I'm up in her skirt. I'm at the Goodwill, you can find me in the I'm not stuck on searching in the section. Your grandma, your auntie, your mama, your mammy. I'll take those flannel zebra jammies secondhand and rock that motherfucker. The built-in onesie with the socks on that motherfucker. I hit the party and they stop in that motherfucker. They be like, oh, that Gucci, that's hella tight. I'm like, yo, that's $50 for a t-shirt. Limited edition, let's do some simple edition. $50 for a t-shirt, that's just some ignorant bitch. I call that getting swindled and pimped. I call that getting tricked by business. That shirt's hella dope. And having the same one as 6 other people in this club is a hella don't. Peak gang, come take a look through my telescope. Tryna get girls from a brand, man, you hella won't. Man, you hella won't.
I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is fucking awesome. I'll wear your granddad's clothes. I look incredible. I'm in this big ass coat from that thrift shop down the road. I'll wear your granddad's clothes. I look incredible. I'm in this big ass coat from that thrift shop down the road. I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is fucking awesome.
Give it up for the wall!
Hey, Macklemore, can we go thrift shopping?
What?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Sherry Prindle, come on stage with me. Let's give it up
right.
one more time for the wands.
you.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Unicorn time.
He's fun.
Let's do this, actually, and Adam,
You okay?
give us the gallery on the TV when you get a chance, and I will give us the gallery. Sherry Prindle and I are going to close up this amazing day, and virtual people, feel free to come on up and hang out. And there we go. Sherry Prindle,
Yeah.
what are 3 words you have to describe today?
Wow. You know, I sat at the table because John insisted that I sit at the table, but it's so funny because when you're busy being an organizer, then it's all just stuff, but in the audience, it's like, oh, wow, people are incredibly generous. That would be my 4 words, like sharing what they know. That was like 40 words, sorry, 400 words.
What do I have if I have any words, right? Stars. I think that we have so many stars that got a chance to join us, and that's what I'm most excited about. I mean, that's what Sherry's vision was when she started the program. Bring speakers and trainers together, have speakers and trainers teach, right? Other speakers and trainers. And let's find out, right? So we're going to take the last few minutes here, and we really want to engage our virtual audiences on here. And if you are in person, you want to come up, feel free to come grab Sherry's mic and join us here on stage, and let us know what comments you have. Let's go to the virtual first, though. And of course, look, Mel's got her avatar going on now, and with the what are those butterfly? I feel like those kind of like Tinkerbell glasses. Let's go to Donna. So Donna, do you have any comments? You just got a chance to tune into Wands' keynote. And of course, you know Wands in the other life too. So I'm just curious, what are you thinking, what are you feeling, or what did you learn?
Well, let me go backwards. I did watch Wands's TED Talk recently. And so it like ended about being a new, and there was this whole other part of it that I got to see today that explained so much more. So that window and that vulnerability and sharing it with us, it was a very special keynote here.
Outstanding. Thank you, Donna. And there was a comment in there too. You know, we were talking about coaches for students and other people, and you shared a little bit that you got an executive coach for your son, and you said you didn't even know that option existed. Talk about like the revelation or the light bulb maybe that went on?
The light bulb was, so my son's grandmother, who I speak with every weekend, and she's like, well, you know, counseling doesn't seem to be pushing him forward. And it's really great for, you know, looking at the past and resolving your feelings and emotions, but it doesn't move you forward. But a life coach helps you plan and move forward, and maybe that's what he needs. So it was just like, okay, we're not methodical in moving forward. We're not getting anywhere after 4 years of.
Well, we look
Not
forward to
going
hearing.
anywhere.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing the progress because we know it's a process. To me, coaching is also always about the match. Like a great coach may not be the right match for that person. So you know
Very
you can
true.
only find that out, I think, over time.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Thank you, Donna. Let's see the gallery. Is there somebody else, Adam, that you can bring up that you can see wants to share? What did they learn from tuning into the Star Marketing Summit? And Sherry Prindle too will ask the next debriefing question after this one. Who do we got, Adam? Adam is silent. Give me the gallery. There you go. There we go. So, oh, Kathy tuned in here at the end here too, right? So, hi, Kathy. How you doing?
I'm good. I missed like most of that last talk, and I didn't realize there were so many curse words in the thrift store song. 'Cause
Oh,
we
by the
use
way,
that,
I just broke the internet too.
yeah, because we use that for our family lip sync contest. We have to do the clean version because I have a lot of little nieces and nephews. So I was like, wow, I never heard this version of it. But overall, I'm glad I got to spend the time that I got to spend with you guys yesterday, more time than today. And yeah, I mean, I think, this community is, it is Sherry's vision. And I want to say, John, you're a nice addition to the overall, vision of it. So yeah. So it's a good fit. You've taken Sherry like to the next level. I mean, she was already killing it. And what I think is really amazing, John, let me just give you some kudos, is
Oh.
that Sherry let you help her.
Ooh, that feels like a Shiraz moment. I feel that rings true.
Right, Sherry? Sherry knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's a cop.
Daryl was like, "Can I get you a bottle of virtual water?" Right?
That's hysterical. That was good callback to yesterday.
Oh my God, I love
Yeah,
Shiraz.
so
I do.
really
I love
good,
it.
really good event, and congratulations, Sherry, on still finding new ways to take something that you've been doing for so long, your baby, and still find ways to evolve it, and really good overall. And sorry I missed so much today.
Oh, we let us tell you, let us train you on something. This is called the no sorry zone.
Yeah,
So here, you never really have to apologize unless you really hurt my feelings, but you didn't. So you don't have
great,
to say I'm sorry unless you're Canadian or you want to.
great,
Okay.
and that's true. My thing is actually being apology free. So I showed up when I could. Good event. See you next year.
Hey, can you give us one thing? What's the one thing you think you're actually going to do, right? We gave you a lot, but what's like one thing you might take away and actually do?
Yeah, so what's interesting? So Shiraz, I'll be honest, it's Shiraz here. Like I'm
Yeah.
not a big woo-woo person, honestly,
Yeah.
but the seeing Shiraz yesterday, although I was at my mom's, so I couldn't really go like deep into the what he was taught, the people he was talking to, and
Sure.
it brought back what he did last time. And even though I didn't get coached by him last time, I did pick up on I had connections with some of the things he talked to people about. So for
Yeah.
me, I think most of my work, especially right now, I mean, I think I mentioned in the chat, I was at my mom's. My mom's got Alzheimer's. She's got congestive heart failure. It's basically a shit show. And I can say shit because you just had a whole song with a bunch of curse words. It's a shit show, right? So I really have to go in deep and make really, really be sure about the choices I'm making right now,
Yeah.
because the time I have to work on my business is much more limited because I am having to do grandma sitting,
Yeah.
a couple days a week. So it's really being really clear, on my business, and thinking about like how can I be true to what I really want, which is what he helped people with yesterday. And last time he was here, he did the same thing. He helps us discover our own truth and get past the lies we're telling ourselves.
Yeah. And not
You know,
spend, 20 hours making that reality a day.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you.
And thank you, Kathy, for volunteering to be my co-organizer those 4 years ago. I
know,
appreciate
right?
that.
Yeah. Yeah, for making you accept our help.
Okay, let's see. There's three. There's Nicole Mel, and I think was it Debbie on the top
Deborah,
right?
yeah.
And so, why don't you pick one of them and see if you can pick a debrief question?
All right.
She's hunting.
Nicole, I know you from karaoke, not from the Star Marketing Summit. So
Right.
I'm just curious because, I bring in like a lot of speakers and trainers and coaches that I know to do this. Do you find some ideas, some inspiration, some tips from being here as well? And if so, what are they?
I'm sure. Thanks. I just want to thank John for inviting me. He just want to thank him for inviting me, and I got some ideas. I am a creative, and I have a teeny tiny itty bitty business as an author, and I kind of need a push to keep it going and to expand myself, I guess personally, to like I have 4 years of art in this little room that I'm in, and I need to do something with it, I guess. And I just need some push and some direction, and so I think John's trying to help me out there with some of that to help me get some ideas. And as you can see, I have a background now, and it's mostly eye level, so I'm kind of getting there. But I don't know if it's to standards, but working on
Here's
it.
our first trick. Use your right hand and point at your Nicole. Right hand, right hand. Yeah, point up, 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 right there. That's it. Hi, I'm Nicole Smith, and I do creative works. I just want to give a shout out to Nicole too, because I have a grandbaby on the way, and the baby shower was just last Saturday, and Nicole really went above and beyond, sending me custom-made materials for the grandbaby, and as well as she has written a book, Blue. If you have your book, Blue, you can hold it up if you like. But it's a great kids book, and it's really, if you didn't know, Nicole is a retired teacher, so she brings multiple decades of teacher experience into her work, and I just think it's really valuable in that way. So Nicole, I just wanted to say thank you, and
Thank you.
the mom really, really loved everything
you.
you gave her. So
I can link the YouTube in the chat if that's okay.
yeah, yes, please.
Okay. All right. That Gordon helped me with. How about that?
And this is kind of your last chance if you did want to put some kind of a link in the chat or your LinkedIn or whatever, but you all kind of know each other.
Okay, I'm gonna debrief on somebody else. I'm gonna take our in-person guest. So Daryl, come on up and bring up Daryl. Give him a round of applause. He presented earlier yesterday. Oh, look, the dog's into it. Who let the dogs out?
Thank you. First of all, I'm very honored to have been a speaker here. Thank you so much. What an honor. I work mostly with executives, one-on-one executive coaching.
Yes.
And so we have a few diagnostic tools that I don't really like. I really like the idea of using gamification as a diagnostic tool, and it was great, the speaker we had earlier today.
Yeah, Pradeep.
Pradeep, so
He's
definitely
in,
going to follow up with him.
I think he's in Sammamish or Issaquah. He's close.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
So, and storytelling, which is so important, so I was really excited to see that.
So you're inspired. You're saying, so what's the one thing you're going to take away, like you're going to do?
Definitely the gamification and seeing what other tools, but I really like the idea that his was science-based.
Yep.
And also it was storytelling based.
Yeah.
And gosh, you got to love someone who's could be saving a life here when talking, the government coming in and saying, hey, we want to use this as a suicide prevention tool. So that's pretty impressive.
Oh, I know. Infinite value, save a life, right? Such a key piece. Again, both of us are members, right, of NSA Northwest.
Yes.
National Speakers Association. We were talking about, Wands was talking about, like, find your people. And I've been a member of a lot of organizations, but I really feel right now like National Speaker Association is my people. I'm kind of like on a great ride right now, and I hope it doesn't stop. What does being in a community of speakers do for you?
Yeah, and especially NSA. Gonzalo, I have a friend Gonzalo in Colorado, doctor, and he is with NSA. And I asked him a couple years ago, I said, where should I go to become a speaker?
Yeah.
There's a lot of organizations, and he said definitively across the United States, NSA Northwest, and you have a prize-winning chapter. And you're our president, so coming up.
Not yet.
So,
by the way,
you're coming up. So
May 11th, you can join just like this virtually and watch me take office. Right? It's my opportunity to serve for a year. By the way, it's not my year. That's one key aspect that they have trained us on. And it will be happening live in Mercer Island using similar hybrid technology. So that's May 11th. 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and you can go to nsanorthwest.org. Again, nsanorthwest.org. Registration is going to open in a week.
Yep.
Yeah. So any final words for the people?
Anyone come to the NSA. You're welcome no matter where, if you're just starting out as a speaker, and you will be given a grand reception and a lot of help, and you'll have incredible speakers who will dedicate a lot of time to you in your development. They were there themselves, and they'll let you know that. And congratulations again. I need to know this certification. It's very difficult to get your certification.
Yeah, so what he's talking about is I got the CSP, the Certified Speaking Professional, only given to 17% of the National Speakers Association members, and I found out last week that I had achieved that. So thank you so much, Derek.
I'm only surprised it's 17%. That's a big percentage I mean, I thought it was much smaller because that's a very difficult process.
Then you go to CPAE, which is known as the Hall of Fame, and you can't apply your way in. They have to select you.
Okay.
And that will be the next thing that I have no control over. All right, let's give the mic back to Sherry Prindle. Thank you, Daryl. Sherry Prindle, let's debrief one more person and close up for the day.
Looks like the other person with their camera on. Mel, I just want to help you drive safely, so I'm going to go with Deborah. Oh, she's not the one driving. Deborah Allen, love to have you come on. Deborah comes to a lot of marketing summits, and you just have such a great heart. Anything from this summit that you would share that you were excited about?
Oh, I'm just so excited I feel like I'm meeting my tribe. Everybody I can tell the name of the summit, Star Summit, everybody is a star. I mean, it's just like, I even met somebody famous today. Oh my gosh. So it's really neat. And yesterday, the guru, he was just amazing. It was just really crazy. I feel like he pushed me out of my freezing. I finally got this one opportunity. Like the girl said, she got the opportunity to speak and she couldn't speak. And I did the same thing. That's what I do. And so I feel like that was a breakthrough for me. And so that was great. And then today, I love trying to find your unicorn, and that's what I'm trying to find. I know I'm unique and I've got to find my path, and I love writing. I'm not a speaker, but I love writing, and I've written 15 books, and my goal is to get those out there to the right people. So
Awesome. One of the things everyone missed was Chris Hardwick yesterday. He gave a really wonderful speech, but then outside afterwards over wine and cheese, man, did he tell us some amazing multi-million-dollar investment stories. So John Chen is the best hybrid producer out there. He has a whole team of producers, never Zoom alone, hire John Chen and his crew. It's amazing. So who knows if I'll have the guts to do this again in a hybrid way, but I have every intention to, because as you guys were saying to me yesterday, you just got to kind of push that envelope. You got to kind of be willing to take that step forward before everybody else is willing to do it, and then when everybody catches up, you'll be in the forefront, right? So thank you, John Chen and everyone here for helping put and keep the Star Marketing Summit in the forefront.
Thank you so much. There you go, Sherry Prindle. All right, we're gonna do one last thing here. Mel, you're gonna get 60 seconds to add your observations of the Star Marketing Summit. Hit the unmute, hit it.
I am, again, so delighted to have been included. You guys are my tribe. Any way I can support your work, I feel blessed to connect. So, and Kathy, I'm sending you the love from a few blocks away.
All right, Mel, and now you, action-based woman, right? You gotta tell me one thing you're actually gonna do.
Well, I'm presenting in the next couple of days, so I'm taking the confidence of, yes, I can sell my services, not just talk.
Outstanding. Let's give a round of applause to Mel. All right, so let's see. We only have one more message here for you, and I believe it is this.
Thank you for attending the performance, and a special thanks to all those who helped with the show.
This is John Chen, and I'm signing off for the Star Marketing Summit here from Seattle, Washington. And thank you again to all my hybrid guests. Let's take a real quick peek. Everybody who's on virtual today, wave! Thank you so much, everybody. Oh, look, there's Yvonne. Thank you all for coming here to the Star Marketing Summit. Hit the chat and say thank you to your favorite presenters. I'm John Chen saying thank you for attending the Star Marketing Summit. We'll see you next time.